Hello, and welcome to episode 111 of Radio Free Endor. I'm Jamie, and of course, with me is my son, Christopher. How you doing, Chris?
Very well, thank you. How are you?
Not too bad, not too bad. I've been super busy this week, as you have. You've been on holiday. I know we did say that we were going to do a couple of episodes, and then because you had holiday, but we just could not get it together, could we, Chris? You went on holiday, and I'm started a job. I've been just super busy, and I've been working away from home, so that's made it even worse. I suppose in one sense, I could have just took a PC with me, a little laptop, and I suppose I could have done it from the hotel room. But unfortunately, I was drunk most of the time, so it was a good works do, I have to say. Yeah. How was your holiday, Chris?
It was very good, thank you. I've never had such a amazing time. I'm lucky enough to have been to a lot of places,
Yeah.
but there was just something about that holiday that was wonderful.
Yeah. Yeah. See many wonderful places.
I did. I saw most of the Mediterranean, so I saw Rome,
Mhm,
Athens, Naples, Pompeii,
mhm.
Florence, Santorini, Mykonos. I even made it to Turkey.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, I saw a lot of amazing places.
What did you reckon to Pompeii? I loved it.
Um, I think it makes sense to me now that when the star of Star Wars always says, you know, in a long time, a long time ago in a faraway place.
Yeah.
When you look at Pompeii, I'm like, these people were smart for 2,000 years ago.
I know.
It really puts into perspective. And I was literally talking to my friend, and I was talking to him about it, and I'm like, it's almost like the opening of Futurama is more true than not. As in, it's like, oh, great civilization, something really bad happens. Great civilization, something really bad happens.
Yeah.
Because yeah, there's always been smart people, but yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
2,000 years, that's a long time. And some of the things we were seeing, like, to put into perspective, like the
Mm.
Acropolis is 4,000 years old. So as old as, Jesus is to us, was how old the Acropolis was built to Jesus.
Yeah.
You
It's
know,
amazing, isn't it?
that puts a
I, th- I,
lot of time. I
I
truly
was
get what they mean now by
amazing.
ancient Greece.
Yeah, I must admit, it's Pompeii is one place I would love to go back again because they've uncovered so much in the last what was it, 15 years since I last went. So I'd love to go back. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Right then, Chris, there is some news, and so we'll head over to that. But just to put the viewers into perspective, we're covering the Bad Batch at the last two episodes of the Bad Batch. I've not seen anything of the Acolyte. I'm going to be watching it over the weekend, and hopefully, I think there'll be like 3 episodes out by Thursday. I think, Chris, and I think we just cover the 3 episodes right there and then. Yeah,
I think so. I've still not seen any of it yet
yeah,
either. So
I ain't either. But Kerry Ann Moss, it, she was in this clip, like I told you when I watched uh, episode 1, and for her as a Jedi in this series, I'm looking. I can't wait. I just can't wait because I think it's well perfectly cast with Carrie Ann Moss, and it's going to be good. I'm looking forward to watching it. Yeah, absolutely. So, Chris, there is some news. So shall we head over to the news section?
I think we should.
Let's rock and roll. Now, I'm going to head over to Fanta Tracks because you know what? Fanta Tracks is really, really good for all their news. Now, there was something about George Lucas gave a bit of a speech, didn't he, about um, the Disney era, if you know what I mean,
Mm-hmm.
and about his views of the way Star Wars is via
And
Disney.
has been.
Yeah, and he kind of says that it's lost its way, basically, didn't he? He said it's lost its way. Yeah. So it says here. So this is I'm just on the fantasy tracks, and he's actually goes on about each franchise. But he says about Star Wars basically that only he understood the Force, and when other people who come on board with Star Wars, they sort of don't know what they're talking about, basically, and it's lost its way, kind of thing. Don't you agree?
Mm, yeah, well, I don't think it has lost its way. I think there's a lot of people that would like to say that it's lost its way.
Hmm.
Um, I think that it's changed, but just like Marvel went from who reads that to, everyone knows what Spider-Man is like.
Hmm.
Like, the whole point of Spider-Man was like a nerdy teenager that everyone could relate to. But only people
Yeah.
actually related to it were nerdy teenagers 4 years ago.
Mm.
But now it's like, oh, it's super popular. Everyone knows what Spider-Man is, and
It's very true. Yeah.
I think it's the same with Star Wars. Like, um, we have gone through a massive time of like we have more Star Wars than we've ever could wish for, and
Hmm. It
I
is.
think overall it's good. Like it's good. There'll always be bad Star Wars, but there was bad Star Wars ever since the Christmas special.
Yeah. That's very
So
true.
overall, I definitely
Yeah.
feel like it's not bad.
Yeah. Um, I have got a special guest who I want to bring on for this. Now, I hope you don't mind, Chris. We did invite him on last time, and I want some of his insights into what's been happening, if you know what I mean. Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's always a really good form of information, and you've he's been in the live chat all the time, and basically he's going to give his view, and we did say his view on the last two episodes of the Bad Batch, but since he's here, I'm going to bring him in. It's Raw Farm Boy, and I'd like to welcome you. Here we go. Hello, Raw Farm Boy. How you doing?
Good evening, fellas. I say that on your time because it's late afternoon for me.
Good
Yeah,
evening.
there's a bit of a time difference there. So me and Chris was just talking about George Lucas's views with the Disney area. Um, what me and Chris have been away, so you'll probably be more in touch with what's happened. So what's your view on it then, dude?
Let's see. This took place, I want to say it was 2 weeks ago at the Cannes Film Festival. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Yep. Um, yeah, let's see. Well, his thoughts, yeah, that would be his opinions.
Mhm.
I'm kind of indifferent either or way. And the reason that I say that, now this is going to sound really weird, maybe mostly to Jamie, because we're both of the same, we're both Gen Xers.
Hmm.
I see me as how would we say, a father of a different color.
Yeah.
My thoughts and opinions don't fall in line with a lot of our brothers and sisters of our generation.
Hmm.
To me, or in my opinion, which most folks would kind of use and say, because that kind of squelches and ends any kind of arguments, disagreements. It's a short, sweet way of saying we can agree to disagree and still have a chat instead
Yeah.
of
Yeah. Yeah.
sideways. Um, to me, there's no such thing as Disney Star Wars. Whenever we sit down to a new story, what's the first thing that comes on the screen?
Lucasfilm.
Yeah, always. It's always been Lucasfilm that makes Star Wars. It will always be. There are no suits and ties that sit in to tell Lucasfilm how to tell the same way that they don't tell Marvel how to tell their stories. But
Hmm.
yeah, George, I think he's still got a sore spot. Well, it's plain that he's got a sore spot that when he sat down and inked his name on the papers to put Lucasfilm under Disney, and also passed along his rough, for lack of the proper term, his rough ideas of what he would like to have seen Lucasfilm use in the sequel trilogy, kind of got tucked into a file somewhere else, and things were decided to go a different way.
Straight in the bin.
Yeah, he's hurt over that, and that's absolutely understandable. Even to a small degree that there were only small parts, and I absolutely feel for him because the stories he told are the reason why we're doing this, the reason why we have so many other friends that do this.
Absolutely. And I've always wondered that, either the day before he signed or the day after, did he think, did I make the right decision? You know what I mean? There again, isn't he the biggest share owner of Disney, Chris?
He's one of the biggest shareholders. If I was to say my honest opinion, I think it's not a bad one, but it's like he doesn't get an opinion. He sold it.
He did say as much too. You're right, Chris. He said,
and like
you sell it, when you're done and handed over, you're done. He said the very same thing.
It's like selling a car. You can't tell them how to drive that car after you sold it. It's no longer your thing. And I think at the end of the day, there's nothing wrong with how he thinks about Star Wars and how it's gone. But I think it's always one of these things where, it's like, what would Walt do? What would George do? What would Steve do? What would, in what we have to remember is that the world is a very different place to when all of them people were, running businesses. And there's one thing, Star Wars very much makes, it's a lot of money these days.
It does, doesn't it? And I don't think the footfall at Galaxy Edge is any less. I think it's still more and more and more, isn't it? Yet, even though you haven't got the Star Wars Star Cruiser anymore, a lot of people still go to Disney to Star Wars Galaxy Edge. I know I will. I hate to say, I might sit and go, I'm done with Star Wars. That's it. I'm done. But by God, I will go. Believe me, I will go. Yeah. And you've been multiple times anyway, haven't you, Chris?
2. I've been twice.
Yeah. Have you ever been to Galaxy's Edge RFB?
No, sir. I've not. I would like to. I'll be hopeful that maybe one day, maybe I will get to go. I did hear and learn of a thing, just to tack on very briefly to the one thing that Jamie had mentioned about, we know that the Galactic Star Cruiser is no more and has been gone for what'll be almost a year. We're almost there. There is still a group of fans, a small but very sizable group of fans that were absolutely in love with and had made multiple trips. How they found the credits that's not for me to, but having been there as many times as they had and made friends to go, there's a group that are actually putting together. I want to say it's going to take place at San Diego Comic-Con. That is specifically Star Cruiser convention. It's a Star Cruiser, Galactic Star Cruiser convention, exclusively to folks that got to go to that and miss it to this day so much that they're making their own merchandise, selling their own tickets, and having their own exclusive Galactic Star Cruiser con.
As long as they don't make the ticket $6,000, it'll be all right.
No, they won't. And it's to celebrate all the fun that they had and the friends that they made along the way and the adventures that they each had when they went there. I thought that was just, I know a lot of folks kind of look down on it because, And a good many have absolutely agreed. We've got podcaster friends. I've got one in particular in mind that does work for Disney World.
Yeah.
At MGM Studios, and he's been a sound engineer there for nearly 30 years.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And he absolutely agrees. He got to be on the crew that initially was bringing Star Cruiser up before they opened it to the public. And
Yeah.
he absolutely agrees that because this was all Disney, they highly overpriced it to make
Yeah,
it
they did.
not available. It was exclusive to folks with so many credits,
Yeah.
where folks like
Yeah.
us had no possible advantage of being able to go.
They did give an awful lot of influencers, you know, and much richer podcasters than me and Chris, you know, tickets. They were just flying out. Go, review it.
There's a lot said, and I really recommend a video by someone called Jenny Nicholas. Have you heard of her before?
Is that
Nicholson, Jenny Nicholson? Yes,
is that
I have.
4-hour one?
Yes,
Yes.
and she's
Yeah, I
done many
watched
of them.
I watched an hour of it, and I was thinking, I've got to sit down and watch the rest.
And her one on Avatar World is just as funny. But this is like Gen X, obviously, kind of person explaining it.
Mhm.
But you know, her review very much went into the reviews, and every reviewer didn't get a holiday. They got a 4-hour time slot and was then told to review it in a certain way. And like, I don't know what segment it was, but I think it was like there's loads of segments, but basically
I've just checked that link that you sent me, Chris, and I was 45 minutes in when it replayed. 45 minutes into it.
But she covers a lot of stuff about pricing as well, of like how much it costs to run, and they couldn't, you know, just add another 100 rooms. So it was always going to be cost prohibitive.
Yeah.
And then, you know, it's one of these things where it's a really interesting video to watch all the way through. And how she explains the story of it and all these things, it's very, very different to actually what you would want. For example, when she was going to it, she said she wanted to do the First Order quest, you know, and she did everything to try and do it and didn't achieve it. And sometimes had nothing to do on board when all the people doing obviously the Jedi or the Resistance one were super easy and always found this stuff. After watching the video, you know, my opinions on it was that Star Wars fans weren't really like not the go-to target market, but she explains it in the video herself of like, you know, it's the target market is 10-year-old to 15-year-olds and parents who can pay for them kids to have the best experience of their life. And
I love how she did the showing you how the lightsaber experience is like portrayed to you, and then the reality of it. I thought that was really, really good.
And the thing is, it's all really smart technology.
It
and really done really, really well. I understand why the price was it is. Obviously, there's always a Disney tax, but there's that thing of like, how many people can you fit in? Then do you build the same experience twice? And then you have to have the same act, you know, double the set of actors. So it's always going to be a limited thing. I think really the biggest thing that like cried out to me about this whole thing is, wouldn't it have been better to put all that technology in Galaxy's Edge? But then they wouldn't have been able to charge, you know, additional fees, you know, and that's the massive thing is like, I think she says somewhere in the video, like most things that were promised to come to Galaxy's Edge were actually put into the Star Cruiser. And when Galaxy's Edge was created, supposedly Star Cruiser wasn't even a thing that was spoken about internally. So
Yeah.
it's a really, really interesting video. Obviously it's 4 hours long, but if you enjoy that, I recommend watching her one about Avatar World as well. That one's quite funny.
I'll have to have a watch of that. Yeah, I personally, I would love to have had a go in it. I really would. I know you're indoors for 4 days, but by God, I would have done it. And when me and Chris went to Star Wars Celebrations, and we went to to be fair, we went to a panel, didn't we, Chris, about it? And they were enthusiastic about what's coming on Star Cruiser. And then they handed out posters, and they were like special edition posters, and they gave us links to the soundtrack. I've got the soundtrack on my PC. I've listened to it many times. It's good. You know what I mean? To be fair, it's a really good one. And it's got a theme by John Williams. And John Williams did the theme for it. So how good was that? And it had a lot going for it. Unfortunately, that conversation where somebody went, how much should we charge for it? Ooh. And he just thought of the biggest number he could think of. And I think, do you know what? I think people are paying $6,000 for it. And they went, yeah, sounds good. Little did they know is people who really wanted to go on it, like yourselves and me. No,
Well, the target market for it, though.
Yeah,
like
yeah,
like even building lightsabers is an expensive thing. It's almost, I think it's almost to $250, almost $300, probably by the end of 2030. You know, $100 more than it launched with. The robot experience, all these experiences are really, really good, you know, but you have to pay extra for them. Like I love building a lightsaber. You know, I thought it was a magical experience, but it still was magical at taking the money out of my wallet.
yeah. The only thing that I thought with those experiences, though, Chris, was the droid build, and I thought that was a bit disappointing because you want something built big. I think, you know, I would like to build a big one. You know what I mean? Then just a toy, basically. What do you reckon, dude? RFB?
Yeah, I would have. If I was to go to the droid builders, I would want to build a meter tall astromech instead of, what is it, 18 inches tall. Even though it still comes with a memory chip and its own personality and such.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say that I'd envy. I would rather other friends that have an interest for the lightsaber builders to be able to enjoy something like that. Lightsabers, just in my opinion, tend to, maybe it's more real world related to me. In my mind, in a galaxy far, far away, they are a rare thing. I'm more partial to blasters, like my E11 I have sitting right over there.
Yeah, I've got my Mondo one here. Yeah,
that would be this one right here.
This one. What you got? Let's have a look.
My E11 right here.
Yeah, I've got my Mandalorian one there.
Oh, an IB-94. Nice.
Yep, that's mine. I've got two of them. Funny enough, I've got two of them because I like to go pew 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 around every now and again.
As one would.
Yeah. Yeah, so basically, yeah, there was some good aspects to it. I wonder what they've done with everything. Do you think they've just closed it, or they've just ripped everything out and sold bits, or I don't know. What were they done with it, Chris?
Well, tax write-off. Probably the first idea. Second idea would be knock down the hotel part, keep the lobby, keep the restaurant, charge $300 per person to have a 4-hour experience.
See, that's why Chris should be in charge of that.
That would be my guess. Is we'll probably see at D23 they say, like, you know, because people really like the bar experience.
Yes, they did.
If you watch the Jenny Nicholson video, You know, she said that the special effects that were in like the final performance of the event were amazing. So I fully expect they'll shorten it, keep the special effects, keep the story. You have a dinner show. Once everyone's eaten, it gets invaded by the First Order. Ray turns up, bish bash bosh. That's your £400 per person experience. Now go enjoy your day. 4 hours later, you know.
Yeah, like a day excursion, eh? Like a day excursion. Imagine, right? This is why fans should like start thinking about this. Because I would then think, right, I tell you what, let's build, I know, a quarter of it, you know, so it looks like it's parked somewhere, but you got the front of it sticking out, and then you get your tickets, you can go on board, go to the bar, sit, you know, if you want to go this way or that way to Jedi or whatever, and then you go off into the rest. So it looks like it's parked.
So you've already paid $400 a day, like $300 to get into the park, to then spend more money.
Yeah, but there's surely there's ways that they can bring it lower, you know what I mean, and make it more of an experience for people, because you know the amount of rides we've been on, Chris, where you know, there's one thing I can't fault Disney for is the queuing experience, because sometimes the queuing experience is really, really good, because I think they don't like the idea of you just standing there and going, you know what I mean? So they make the queuing experience a little bit better, don't they? Compared to like Alton Towers in Britain, where you're standing in the rain, basically. I mean, until you get to the ride. So there's ways, isn't there? Do you think do you think they would probably alter like the First Order ride? Because I've heard talk that they were thinking about altering the First Order ride as well.
Nope.
No, I wouldn't think so. No.
Like, at the end of the day, don't want to sound like a young person, but Darth Vader's not that marketable to casual fans.
True.
You know?
But saying that, they're bringing more and more characters from like the Mandalorian and that era. So it wouldn't surprise me if you saw normal stormtroopers walking through, you know, classic looking stormtroopers.
Mandalorian's not from the old era.
I know, but he's got the original stormtroopers walking through, isn't he? In that series, he's interacting with them, not the First Order.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Well, but I would also posit this idea or this thought that to not go and think that Disney, with some Lucasfilm involvement sitting at the table, don't already have those thoughts or ideas sitting on the table, having not considered them. To me, it would seem the same thing as when they're putting films and stories together. There are many different things that many of us on the outside of Lucasfilm walls have no idea the things that they're considering.
Yeah.
So it's highly possible that could still be sitting on the table at possibly some point in the future to include something like that.
That is very,
don't
very
rule
true.
it out.
That's very true. Now, also, have you got anything else, Chris, on the news?
That's a good question.
Because it was, I know we've not seen the Acolyte, but I just wanted to talk about the press junket that they're doing going around. It seems to be a bit of a disaster. It's like some of the actors do not even know about Star Wars, because didn't one of the lead actors say, you know, that Anakin blew up the Death Star?
Oh, that was, who was that? That was Charlie Barnett. Did I get his name right?
Yeah.
That ran around, I want to say it was the past week and a half. I've seen, there was some, the small few and very loud bunch of folks that are purposely looking to have issues with this. They put some light on that. I've also heard some folks come to Charlie's kind of defense, if you will. Yeah, at that moment, sitting down with whoever the interviewer might have been, he tripped on a few words that he, like any of us, got a thing wrong at that time, sitting in that particular seat.
I know, I certainly have. Yeah.
That yeah,
you know,
many amongst us can do that. I've done the very same thing. We've all gotten something or other wrong. Sadly enough for Charlie, he happened to do it sitting in front of a camera.
Yeah, and he did it twice at two
But
different times.
He did.
Also, they're actors.
Exactly.
You expect them to know Star Wars?
Yeah,
No,
that's
What
right.
they got to do in Star Wars.
They're hired to do a job.
Yeah.
They're hired to do a job, come in, read a particular script, talk about the character they're portraying, maybe put a couple of their 2 cents in it, and then they're doing the job they're hired and paid to do.
That's very true. There's a lot of them haven't even seen Star Wars until they get hired in it. So you can understand. And then they're jumping in, aren't they? And because I would hate to be, I've asked questions before to people, and I always think to myself, are they waiting for the gotcha question? Do you know what I mean? Gotcha question. But unfortunately, I've done it no end of times. No end of times I've tripped up, and I'm a big Star Wars fan. But you think the first time somebody would have said, "Yeah, it's not Anakin, it's his son Luke."
No, funny. I have to take it. I know Jamie just said that he's not seen, so I would think Christopher's also not seen as well.
No, I've not even seen Tales of the Empire yet.
Now, knowing that we're not quite a full week into what did they give us? The first 2 episodes. If you've not already seen on some social media spaces, Charlie Barnett has kind of redeemed himself in a way. If you've not seen, the character he portrays is named Yord Fandar. He's a Jedi Knight. And they have taken to him, for the most part, in a very great way. Many, many, many folks really love Yord Fandar. And when you two get to sit down and watch this, I'd be willing to put a couple credits down that by the time you got the first 2 episodes under your belt, I think you're going to like Yord Fandar too. We'll see. Cool. If not, I'm willing to lose those couple credits I put down.
Cool. I did say to Chris that I saw a clip at the end of episode 1 when I went to see the special edition, and Carrie Ann Moss, I love her, and when she was doing her thing, I was like, how well cast is that? Her as a Jedi. Mwah. Chef's kiss on that, and I can't wait to see her in this show all the way through. So yeah, it's going to be good. But that's tomorrow's viewing. That's for tomorrow's viewing.
Good. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, Holly went to put it on today. I was like, you can't put it on. You've not even finished the Bad Batch yet. That was sacrilege. You got to at least finish one before going on to the next. But overall, I think the Acolyte will be what it will be. People will like it. People will hate it. People will say it's not for George, or there will be everything everywhere. And I think at the end of the day, if we really think about average Star Wars fans, they pick a segment of the timeline and then they only enjoy that segment of the timeline mostly. And I think overall, like, technology and age and how things look come into a lot of what the average audience will watch. For example, the original Star Wars trilogy, it might be a masterpiece, but it doesn't look as good as the, blockbusters of the sequel trilogy. And what are people watching it for? How it looks or the story, and this is a conversation we could have all day. To me, Star Wars is Star Wars. It's always been goofy. It's always had child slavery, and all the bad things in the world. But, you pick what you enjoy and, have a good time.
Cool. There's one other thing that I just want to cover because time's getting on. And it's a game that's come out I've noticed the soundtrack is now available, but I don't think I was aware of it. I don't know if we ever covered it, Chris. So I've got the trailer here, and of course the trailer is on YouTube, so we can nitpick it and see what it's like. I'm not sure if you're aware of this one, Raw Farm Boy, but let's put it in. There we
I think
go.
it is.
Star Wars Hunters.
Yes, sir. And I can say this has been about a year or so ago. When it was news then, Yins 2 have covered it. I was probably here in the chat when you did. It's taken a while to get here. I know it's found its way into some spaces over in and around Europe in select countries like Spain and France.
Yeah.
Far ahead of everybody else. But now it's here for everybody.
Right. So let's check out this trailer, and let's talk about it afterwards. Yeah.
Welcome to Vespora, where Sith
and Jedi
can fight side by side.
where rivals rub elbows, and victory is in your hands.
Settle your grudge, or put it aside for the good of the squad.
Enemy's blood match. Allies the mast.
The beat is live.
The crowd is fired up.
The show is about to begin. Are you ready?
Right. So, do you know what? Yeah, as soon as that came on, yes, we did cover it. It's funny how this official trailer was only posted 4 days ago. But we have watched that trailer before, haven't we, Chris?
I think so. I couldn't
It
quite
was
remember it.
definitely-
It's been some time, but yeah, I want to say I believe you did cover it when it first came out.
So it's out on the Switch and the App Store and Google Play, because it did say it was cross-platform as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's quite interesting. That I wonder if it's like one of those free-to-play games.
I believe it is, and I want to say it's mostly meant to be mobile based.
Yeah, but it'll work well on the Switch. I just saw some bits of it, and the graphics look quite good actually on the Switch. It's more like a bit like Fortnite, really. To be fair, it looks a bit like Fortnite. See if I can just add this one to the stream. I won't put the sound on, but at least then we can, because we've got adverts beforehand. There we go. Right. So if I just add this, so this is Sammy Boyle Star Wars. So it looks like Fortnite, really, doesn't it? Let's just whip it on a
Kinda.
bit. So you got some bits and bobs. Well, look, I'll tell you what, just whip it on. Look, that's a lot of character design right there until you actually get in. This is all on the Switch. This one. Let's just. God, where's the gameplay? Oh, just there, right at the end. Just there. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I want to say that this was released also the same day that the first 2 episodes of The Accolade came out, June 4th.
All right. So they're going full Star Wars lately. I wonder if there's going to be like characters from The Acolyte or from The Mandalorian in this. You know, like special.
No, sir. To my understanding, these are all new characters.
That's pretty cool. What else, Chris? Have you got anything else?
Yesterday, Dave Filoni turned 50 years old
Did he?
on June the 7th.
50?
Yeah.
God, he's only 5 years younger than me.
Yeah.
I want to say he was born 1974.
4. Yes.
Yeah, he would be the same age as my youngest sister.
Yeah.
God. 50 years old. Well, congratulations and happy birthday to Dave Filoni. I bet he's knees deep in the Mandalorian.
He's knees deep in all manner of Star Wars.
Yeah.
There is actually one more thing to show.
Okay.
And this was during yesterday's summer game fest. So
yeah.
see if you share my screen, we'll walk through it. Just make
Okay.
sure. One
So
second.
what happened
Let me
there?
reshare it. Sorry, I'm just making sure I share it with sound. So did anyone see this?
Let's have a look. Star Wars Outlaws official teaser. We've already had the teaser, haven't we?
No, this is from Summer Games Fest.
No, not seen this. Let's have a look.
Friend needs a little something stolen.
Let's raise the stake, shall we?
Hold tight.
We should get moving.
Yeah.
Why?
Well,
What was
there's a special person
Let's
right
raise the
there.
stakes, shall
Lando.
Oh my!
Ah. Do you know what? I have to say that this Outlaws, I will be getting it.
I'm not. I'm not excited for it yet.
Are you not? Why?
I have a good reason, and it sounds superficial, but the trailer looks amazing, right?
Mhm.
And I've played Fallen Order and Jedi Survivor, right? Them
Yeah.
games are amazing, but they're very much a certain path. So all the special scenes happen in them special paths. And this is meant to be an open world game. And I have a feeling, it may be this quantity over quality when a lot of Fallen Order is in Survivor is quality over quantity. And what I mean by that is like all the cutscenes, all the interiors they've shown look great. But if that's the only thing, if they're the only ones with, thousands of fields, and it's one of them things about Ubisoft games that I just don't know if I want to get hyped about it properly until I see it.
Yeah.
Because, the EA games that have came out, obviously Survivor and Fallen Order, and Survivor, not Survivor, Fallen Order, are quality over quantity. Could this be the same? But this looks like at a much bigger scale. And considering it's done by a completely different studio, so they're not even sharing assets or, engine, game engine. It very much, I want to hold my thoughts back until I see like people start reviewing it and say, actually, there is enough quantity in the world, not just set pieces, and then everything between it is nothingness, if that makes sense.
Fair enough.
Yeah. That sounds right, Chris. I must admit, I absolutely adored Jedi Survivor, and what was the previous one called, Chris?
Fallen Order.
Fallen Order. Yeah, they were my two get-go. I put them on now. You know what I mean? Except for that bloody level on Jeddah. Is it Jeddah?
Jeddah.
Yeah.
That one where you got to use the Force tear to jump and I just can't get it.
I did them all.
God damn
I
it!
understand it. It's just
So hard.
reflexes.
It's so
They
hard.
go with time.
I'm just
But-
gonna have to. Do you know which level I'm talking about, Raw Farm
Yeah.
Boy?
No, sir, I do not. I don't have the game system to be able to play either of those two games.
Chris, it is that level is actually on YouTube, and I followed it and followed it and followed it, and I just can't do it. Chris, you've done it, ain't you?
I'll find it for
Interesting.
you.
Okay, while Chris is looking it up, I have one more thing that I'm surprised was not at the tail end, or for that matter, the beginning end of the news section. And as I understand this, it was announced yesterday that HasLab has announced what their next new Pulse
Ooh.
offering is. It's official.
Ooh, okay. I've not looked. I've not seen it. I've because it's Ghostbusters Day today. Funny enough, on the day of this recording, it is actually Ghostbusters Day from 1984 to 2024, 40 years. So happy birthday or happy anniversary to Ghostbusters and all to the Ghostbusters fans. I did a post on my Ghost Heads UK podcast about it, and I promise I'm going to be sending some goodies down to a friend of mine who's doing an event at the end of this month. So
The original Ghostbusters is 40 years old this year.
Oh man, could you believe it?
It's been quite some time since I've sat down to watch. So now I know what's going to be on my later evening watching. Yeah, it's long past due. I think original Ghostbusters is going to be sitting in front of me later on this evening for me.
Yeah, I agree. It's on TV at the moment, on British TV, the original Ghostbusters.
I have a copy, my own digital copy saved on my external hard drive.
Do you know what? I love that. I know it's Star Wars we're talking about, but there's something about Ghostbusters, the original Ghostbusters, that's magical. Perhaps it's because I saw it. I saw all the films from my mum, and she didn't mind it. But when you look at it now on today's eyes, you think, oh, do you know what? That was kind of adultish for a kids' film. But then, nah, it was okay. It was great.
That came out.
I saw Back to the Future in the cinema.
Came out when I was a junior in high school. Wow.
I saw Back to the Future in the cinema recently, and there's some things in that's you won't get away with these days.
That is right. That is right. But what a film.
For a PG. Back to the Future was a PG, I think.
Yeah, it was.
Back in the day.
But that's that. I recently watched them because every now and again on the sci-fi channels, the Sky channels in the UK, they pop up like Harry Potter channel, so you can watch all the Harry Potters, and then the Lord of the Rings, so you can watch all the they're just repeated for a week. But every now and then they get the whack on either a Ghostbusters one or a Back to the Future, and I can watch the Back to the Futures all day long. I love those films. They are a perfect trilogy, just like when you think Star Wars Empire and Jedi, a perfect trilogy. You know what I mean? And God forbid they ever decide to, I don't know, either update it or make a sequel to it. I know there's been many a fan sequel ideas put for Back to the Future. Some of them are really cool. Even get the hairs on the back of my eye. I thought, that could do that, but no, let them just be fan theories. And that's one of the reasons why the musical popped up, because there was that need for something new. So in a way, it is a new version of Back to the Future, and it's written by the same people. You know what I mean? And I've been to see it. I was lucky enough to see it just prior to when COVID happened. I went to see it, and I thought, oh man, it's so good. And you've been to see it now, ain't you, Chris, in London?
Yeah, I saw it in London.
So good. If you ever get a chance to see it over there, RFB, you've got to go and see it. It is really, really good. What they did on stage for that film, for that film was just great. Yeah.
So I
Chris,
gotta
you got that?
I got to ask in our side chats, which of the two of you have brought up the Hasbro Pulse in a different window? Anybody
Um,
look to see?
uh,
It should be right on the home page. What the new what they're
Let's have a
offering.
look. Hasbro. Well, I was looking at, funny enough, the Ghostbusters Hasbro page for Ghostbusters, because they've just put out like a teaser. Have you found it, Chris? Oh yes, I did see this.
Yep, it was rumors for
Yeah.
about 6 or 7 months, and now it is official.
God.
There seems to be 2 different versions. I'm not quite sure how they worded it, a regular and a deluxe.
Oh.
And they're only $100 difference price between the 2 of them.
What, Chris? Can you see what the difference is?
That's what I don't know, what the difference is between the 2. I know the details are there. I had not quite read. And that was thanks to me just floating around in the Twitterverse yesterday, right after I got home from work. I want to say, I can't remember who initially it was, but it came from Yak Face. And I know everybody knows who Yak Face is.
Deluxe pack will include all of the above plus cantina expansion with extra walls, booths, and furniture.
Ah, okay.
Right.
There you
Okay.
go. It is official. And oh my, the backers are definitely climbing. It's not quite, it's well over a third, but not quite to half yet.
Oh, I'm just looking at it myself on,
And that's
on
with
my
still 30
screen.
days to go. So
Oh
folks are
man.
definitely interested in this, which is good. Good.
I would be so tempted for that.
And finally, they're offering 2 carded figures that folks and fans have been asking for years. You can see them up there in the window up on the upper left-hand side. It's the Tonica sisters, who
Oh yeah.
have never had action figures, whether they were vintage collection 3 3/4 size or Black Series. They've never been offered as action figures.
Yeah. Chris, there's a video on that page. There, just click on that.
Yeah, I was watching this on the Bantha Track site yesterday.
Going to town with that TikTok music.
There's the doorway with the R. It's not really R. All the details in miniature. Look at that. That is crazy.
It is. Where would you put it though? That's the thing. Like how it all splits apart and comes together.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, interchangeable. That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. I like the little stools. Is it made for 3 3/4, isn't it? Yeah.
I
3
would say
3/4.
yeah.
So, was
so
there
you
like an
got the back
original
wall.
one made by Kenner?
Yeah, there was I had it. Pallet in this country, it was Palatoy, and it was like half a bar and a cardboard bit.
Yep, I
Yeah, it was really
remember
cool.
it. I've seen it in Sears wish books and things back when we were kids, Jamie. I've never had it,
Yeah,
but I definitely seen it.
man. Unlockable Greedo. That's pretty cool. Well, you can get him anyway, can't you? Who's that?
Oh my.
Yeah, the werewolf. Oh man, isn't it weird that they don't release Pam Rose's character? Somebody actually did a version of Pam Rose's character that she was in. She's an English actress. She plays, I can't think what the name of her character she played. but someone did like a custom made action figure for her, and it looked really, really cool.
I just got one question.
Go on then.
Is this the original version that we're talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Yep.
Right. Got you. So
Yep.
the original version sold for $9.
Yep.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
currently, for about the same price, you can pick it up.
No way.
So
$9.
So you've adjusted for inflation, Christopher. The $9 back in what would be 1978, 1979 would equal about 100 nowadays.
Let's find out. Inflation.
Or no, $3.99 is what they're offering the deluxe, or not the deluxe, the regular new HasLab Cantina.
So the original price,
10 quid.
But I had that, Chris. But I also had the one where it had a little table. Or is that like on the flip side of it? It had like a little table. It was the same kit that basically they rehashed a couple of times. But they had a little table and you had your little figures and it went down a bit. Because that's outside. That's outside. Search again for Palatoy Cantina, Chris. Vintage Palatoy. Look for the Palatoy. Because I lived in Leicester and that's where it was made, in Leicester, in Palatoy. And my mother, I've probably told this story a couple of times on the podcast, but my mother, she worked at a bingo hall in Leicester, and one of her customers worked at Palatoy, and she would often come up when getting her tickets from my mum and say, "Do you know what, Pauline? I've got some stuff in my boot, in my car. Are you interested?" And she's like, "Yeah." So they went over. She opened a boot of her Austin Martin, whatever, or not an Austin Martin, an Austin car, and all this Star Wars stuff would be there, and she was like, "Yeah, I'll take it off your hands. Yeah, I know, and me son are like that." And that's how I got most of my Star Wars from the factory. Yeah, can you see it, Chris?
So you're talking about this one, right? You're talking about this one here.
Is that telling you prices?
Yeah. So
Yeah,
you're
that's
talking
it.
about this one here.
Yeah, that's the one I had. Yeah, that one. I had that one, not the other one, because the other one is like an outside where I wanted the inside, and I don't think that one came out in this country. I could be wrong. If it's got Kenner on it.
No, the box cover that Christopher just showed had Palatoy down in
Yeah, no, this is the Palatoy one.
Yeah. I meant
it.
the outside one. If it's got Kenner, that means it came out in the States. If it's got Palatoy,
yeah, the other one was a Kenner one. This one was a Palatoy one. Don't ask me how much this one is because this website is not tracking that one. But
why is that website? Does that tell you like how much vintage Star Wars is?
The website I had up, yes, it's Action Figure 411. So if you have a Kenner vintage Han Solo that you would have bought for $1.99, it's now worth $425.
What about my original C3PO? See, I'm not.
What
original.
make is that?
It's Palatoy C3PO original. This is the first one that came out.
Let's go for Kenner.
It's not the one. This is the original one. It doesn't come with the arms that popped off. This is
that was
like
Empire
that.
Strikes Back 3PO.
No, I've got that one in a box note. C3PO.
Oh yeah, sorry, not R2D2.
Yeah, and look for Palatoy C3PO. Yeah, well, yeah, that'll be it, but it'll be the Palatoy.
Well, currently that's averaging a lot of money.
Yeah, but that's in carded, isn't it? That's carded,
not loose.
Yeah. Did I ever tell you when I first saw this one, Farm Boy? It's one of those memories that I've always had. That it was Christmas morning, just past Christmas Eve, so it was like 1 or 2 in the morning, and I thought I felt because my mum and dad put all my presents at the foot of my bed, and I remember feeling the presence going onto my bed, but I kept my eyes closed because I believed in Santa, as we all do. And then it went, you know, I heard my door and I was like dying to have a look. And I didn't have any, the curtains were open and the moon was shining in. And I remember putting my hand down to this bag and I felt around, I found a card and I pulled it out. And then as I pulled up the card, it was this C3PO and the moon just shined off him. And I was like,
That very
Indeed.
one in your hands.
yeah, this one. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I had the very same from Kenner
I love it.
years ago. It is lost to the galaxy somewhere nowadays, but
Yeah.
I'm envious of that. I miss
Yeah.
mine.
I think
Power
you'd be
Toys are not
buried in
really
me.
tracked on these websites. It's more the American ones that are.
all right, okay.
But American sort ones, yeah, they're quite expensive.
God. Bloody hell.
Like the American version of C3PO, what terrible. That's very expensive.
God, it is,
What's the highest diff? Your highest diff is the early set.
The first ones, yeah. The baggies. Not baggies, those ones were on baggies. I've got a good collection of the very first figures, but I've packed them in a way that if you open the bag, you can smell the freshness of the plastic.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I mean, that's
it'll pay for your retirement home.
I'm not selling them. I tell you what, you and my Nicky, I swear to God, are in cahoots. I'm not selling it. You see, so the deluxe version of that kit is the wall, so it's a complete surround. That's what
is it?
deluxe is that.
So it's just more plastic.
Yeah, but it's this side.
It's more table and chairs.
Yeah, yeah, basically, yeah.
Yeah, it's very like don't get me wrong. If this is your thing, great. This is definitely not my thing.
Yeah, I like it, but unfortunately, no. That HasLab I'm not going for. I went for the Razor Quest. I've got that, and I was, and I'm quite happy that I've got the Starfighter and the Naboo Starfighter there as well.
Let's see if we can.
Well, I'm glad that I had brought it up so that Yuns 2 had not happened across it at a later time.
Yeah, that'd be brilliant. Yeah. Oh, and just quickly, Pam Rose's character played Lee Subserlin in the canteen. Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah. Somebody did. I wonder if I can find the action figure that someone did. She's in. Oh no, they did do a action figure. Oh, that's interesting. Let me just put that up and you can see it because she's in a film called Elstree 1976.
The documentary, one of the couple documentaries of the making of A New Hope. Yes, that's a very good film.
Yeah.
That saved on my external hard drive. Good stuff.
There she is. Yeah. So they did bring out her figure as so if that'd be interesting. If you got that Hasbro set, try and find that figure and to build up that set, you know, that's what's going to be. If you get that Hasbro, that HasLab, you want to now then start collecting all the figures for the crew.
That looks to be one of the 2018 carded series. I want to say by the card art.
I think. A lot of the Clone Wars figures came out in that kind of card, didn't they?
That's also very similar to the limited run of 3 3/4 inch for Solo, a Star Wars story they did. Yeah, it looks very similar to that.
Yeah.
That's what made me.
The Star Wars the Star Wars convention prior to Star Wars celebrations, prior to the last one that was here, when it was here last, I sat down having a coffee and she came and she goes, "Mind if I just take this seat? Can I sit?" And I went, and I immediately I knew it was that. I went, "Sure, Pam, sure, sit down." And then we had this. I didn't record any of it, but I sat there for about 30 minutes having a right in-depth chat about behind the scenes of Star Wars. It was quite good. It was quite good. Really wish I recorded it.
Somebody had spoke to her not too long ago. I'm not certain if it was James Burns's Jedi News or if it was Fantha Tracks, but I know I've heard her
probably Jedi News.
not too long ago.
I'll have to have a look at that one. So yeah, I'll have to get her autograph on a card at some point. Yeah. So is that it, Chris?
I think so. I actually just heard Holly finish the season finale. Holly's just got around to finishing it a minute ago.
Okay.
So I think we should get to cover in the
get
last
on
two
with
episodes.
it. Let's get on with it. Yeah, because we've got a lot of people actually watching now. So let's head over now. So that was the end of the news because I like to edit it. So that was the end of the news, and now let's head over to the Bad Batch report. Right. So the Bad Batch report, the last 2 episodes of the Bad Batch season 3, and then that's it. There's no more. We've finally come to the end. A lot of people, it's been over now for a couple of weeks. A lot of people have seen it. I've watched it again. I've watched it numerous times, and I still thought it was a brilliant ending. Yeah. A brilliant
The thing
final.
is, enough time's passed that like you don't feel like you're spoiling anything that's in there.
That's absolutely. So the episode 14 is Flash Strike. And we left our crew attached to the shuttle that was heading towards the secret planet of
Wayland.
Yeah, Wayland. Yes. So it was good. I have to say, I still watched that end bit of the episode before, but where they lock onto it just as it shoots into hyperspace, and I think, God, that's so good. And this one, the animation, I have to say, for this episode is it's just brilliant, so good. But they're aware they've been compromised, and of course, Hemlock sends out an attack group. Oh yeah, and some turbo lasers as well, because meanwhile, Omega, everything on the table's going boom, boom. And she says, "Oh, that's turbo lasers. So she knew her brothers were on the way. Yeah. I'm not going to go beat by beat by beat. But what did you reckon, guys, to this episode, Flash Strike? Chris?
Well, I feel like it's very hard because we're doing the last 2, but it really picked up from, Juggernaut all the way to now, and we obviously reviewed Into the Breach and Juggernaut previously, but it, and this is not a thing about, I guess, Holly, but like she found the mid bit of the season a little bit of a slog, and you get that with the Clone Wars as well. It's like, when's it going to pick back up? And, I think soon as Omega gets, captured, voluntarily, that's where it really picked up and drove into the final gears for the whole season. And what I think was really good was the clones, overall. I really enjoyed Omega's story of not just waiting to get like let out, her exploring the base with the kids and making their own plan, and Emery's and how she feels about it. If like it's a bit like the meme, are we the bad guys? She kind of knows she is now, but she's trying to reduce the pain as much as possible until Echo comes along and gives her an opportunity to right the wrongs.
Yeah.
And I can't quite remember where the episode ends and starts the next one, but I think this is the episode where the Zillow Beast also gets let out.
No, that's the next one.
That's the start of the next one. Yeah,
That's the next one. Yes. What got me about this one is how sort of comical Rampart was. You know, when when he goes when the ships go down, and he goes, "We've got to go," and he's like, "What? What? How?" And he goes, "Oh, we'll see you down there." And he's like, eh. And even I thought, God, those trees. You could be dead like that in an instant.
yeah.
And you know, and he goes when he he goes, "Did Hemlock survive?" And he goes, "Unfortunately, yeah." Yeah, I mean, he's right there. I thought that was really, really good. And what a horrible person he is. What a
Not the best part though.
horrible
The best part
person.
is in the episode before, because I rewatched that with Holly before we came on, and we said about the joke last week. He's like, "I can't do this. This is a corporal. You know, I was a vice admiral."
Yeah.
He's been demoted.
Yeah. And such a coward. Like it's like, especially when he leans against that big beast, and they tell him, back
And
away,
like as they're going down,
slowly, back away slow, and he's like, ah, legs it. Like,
yeah, like as they're
oh.
going down, I remember like I think Wrecker was like, "Yeah, this is every day," and Admiral Rampart was like, "Nah, do not like this."
Now he gave him a slap on the back, and out the drop doors he went. And everybody's review that I've heard was just his schoolgirl scream on the way down. It just made everybody's day.
Yeah. Oh, also, did you notice that? You know when they're in the shuttle and it was being shot at? I loved that move where he literally stopped the engines, turned the ship round so it could fire up, and then so it destroyed one. Then as it fell, it tipped back down. There was like, and they kicked the engines back in and off.
Did that kind of put you in mind of on Kalevala, Bo-Katan's flip of her outlet to take out the TIE interceptors that were, she flipped that one wing up and it turned. Hunter did the same exact thing.
Yeah, that was great. Nice. It was. I tell you, like I say, the animation on it is so good, so good.
I watched it. It looks exactly. When I watched it, it didn't come across as animation at all. I took it as live action. It's just that is beautiful. That's so good.
The amount of beauty shot, they knew they had gold with this Tantalus base. The amount of beauty shots of like the bait, like we're going to go on to a fantastic beauty shop in the next episode. But when you're just looking at the top of the actual base, with the spiral, so beautiful, beautiful. And you're right what you're saying about it being like live action. I was watching it, and it was not a cartoon to me at any point.
Oh, it's right,
and
there,
it's right there. And it's so good. Even Echo, when he picked up when he shot that droid, and he goes, "Thanks for the hand," and he puts that hand on it. Now that's really weird because I saw an action figure of him ages ago, and one of the attachments was a hand. And I was thinking, oh, it's going to get like a hand that you could get on, but they never put it on until now. I was thinking that's strange because this figure came out in like.
That's my favorite model of protocol droid. That was an RA-7. Or we know the Death Star droid.
Death Star droid, yeah. Oh, I've got one of them as well. But this one was a black one, wasn't it? Because they're usually aren't they usually silver with black eyes? Usually
they are in both finishes. The one that Echo took out was the silver-plated version.
Right, yeah.
And AP5 is not an R7, is he? No. AP5? That's my favorite droid. The one that sings in space.
Yeah, he is a variation of an RA-7. His mouth configuration is a little bit more different than the insect-looking sort of mouth part, the vocoder that an RA-7 would have. But AP5. Yes, AP5 is also an RA7.
Yes,
Alright.
you'll find that the droid that Echo took out was RA7 81. Funny enough,
Yes,
just
sir.
looking up there.
Yep. I also want to say he was voiced by the same voice that voices AP5, Stephen Stanton.
Really?
For the couple lines that RA781 had, yeah,
Mhm.
that was Stephen Stanton.
Amazing. It was amazing.
It is.
I do want I was going to say it at the end, but I'll say it now. I mean, to D. Badley Breaker, he has done a phenomenal job with all the clones, all the Bad Batch. I mean, especially when you get dialogue where it's like when the Zello Beast comes out, they look at it and they go, "Do you think that's do you think that's Amiga or Soy Gals?" They all say it one time, Amiga. Yeah, I mean, so it gives you that aspect that it is more than one person, and every single clone has got a slight variation of
Yeah,
that
he's
voice.
got every one of them cataloged in his brain. To
Yeah.
touch on one thing really fast to not drag this out is there was somebody in an interview in the days that had after season 3 had finished. Somebody had asked him something in relation to out of all the clones he's voiced over years,
Yeah.
some of the favorite things or favorite characters. And he came back with this sort of a response that he just is one small part of this much bigger group of folks that are putting these stories together. Yes, he's the voice, but it doesn't all come down to just him. That there are animators and concept designers, producers. There are so many people behind Lucasfilm Animation that are all a part of these characters that he sees himself as just that one other small part amongst the bigger whole. When he said that, I thought, you know what? I wish we could all kind of keep those kind of things in mind, that it's never just down to the one actor. When somebody would want to ask an actor what they think of this, that, or their character, it's not always up to that actor. It's also up to the storyteller, the story writers. It's a whole group of folks that it also includes that one actor, whether we see their faces in live action or whether it's a voice actor. It's never just the one person. It's a whole group of folks behind Lucasfilm putting this stuff together. I always heard, after I heard Dee say that, I thought, all right, that changes my focus on things to keep it wider. Don't keep the vision so blinders tight, because the vision is always so much bigger than that.
Yeah,
like,
I agree.
With D. Bradley Baker, I think of it like he's the voice, but he's not the brain.
No,
The story,
that's
like
what
you
I
said.
took from what he had said. Yeah, he was trying to convey that across, and I thought for this one fella right here, message received, absolutely.
And it's like it is very much a very parallel, but Amiga is voiced by one person versus half the cast is voiced by a different person in all their different personalities that go into it. I think it's great that they have one person that can do all of this range. But I still think it was really good. We had this alternative character that was still a clone, but was not D. Bradley Baker, even though we really do enjoy his voice.
Yeah. True.
Something else that I thought was really good about this episode was the conversations between Rampart and Crosshair, because Admiral Rampart was very much saying to Crosshair, you always will be and are the same person, because I am, even though I got took down by the Emperor, he still is the same person that we see even to the
only
end.
say goes, you used to be following always following orders, wasn't it? Always be a good soldier or something like that. Yeah, carry on, Chris. Sorry.
But it's like we see that Crosshair is a changed person, because even to the previous episode, 2 episodes, when he said that he knows a way back to Tantus, but he wouldn't want to go back, you know. But because Omega is there, he will go back, you know.
Mm,
And if he
yeah.
wasn't a changed person, he would have never done that.
Yeah.
And I think the reflection you see that in these episodes between Admiral Rampart and Crosshair is that Crosshair is a changed person, doesn't negate all the things that he did, but he is there for his family. It's kind of like the annoying brother that does actually love everyone, but doesn't actually like to stay there and like anyone.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and the thing that changed him was the forgiveness and acceptance of not only his brothers, but his little big sister.
Mm.
And he almost
Aged weirdly, sister.
slipped when they were on the jungle floor at the foot of Tantus, and tried to turn Hunter and Wrecker away, saying that he was going to go in, and
Yes.
that's what he thought he deserved.
Mm.
And again, Hunter and Wrecker turned him around. He's like, no, we do this together.
Mm.
Yeah, he almost slipped, but without Omega there, it took his brothers to turn him around. He's like, no, you're not going by yourself. We're going in together.
I think his character development through this season has been and so good, absolutely so good. And that's the best thing, because of, I know we've only had 15 episodes, but you've had so much time to, to redeem that character. I hate it when you get, when they do TV series and films, and the character, you think, no, and they sort of expect you to be that you like him to be redeemed when you've had no connection with that character through the episode or through the movie. But with this, you have, you know what I mean? I felt for Crosshairs.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean,
all the way all the way back in season 2 on Barton 4, whenever he met Commander Mayday and everything that he went through there, losing Mayday, that's where it started. So it took more than a season and a half.
Yeah.
And it was a very long, slow through, like I said, a season and a half for him to go from who he thought he should be to who he actually, for him to realize that's who he is. That's who he always was.
Yeah.
He wasn't who he thought he should have been.
And he thought that he didn't deserve any happiness, that he didn't deserve to be loved. He didn't deserve to be included in this family dynamic. You know what I mean? Where in reality, he did. You know what I mean? Because at the end of the day,
brothers and his sisters showed him otherwise.
Yeah. I know they gave him a hard time, but they were just desperate to find where Omega was.
We'd seen them in all their previous adventures from season 7 of Clone Wars, when we were introduced to them at the very beginning, the first arc of season 7, when we met the Bad Batch. They were giving each other a hard time then. It was just so much fun. And to see some of the trials and tribulations, and maybe brought a tear once or twice through this. Just so good. So good.
And towards the end of this episode, of course, the Zillo beast, when Omega goes looking for a path.
You're skipping one major point.
Oh, go on then, Chris.
And that is, Wrecker's first bar of plot armor got hit when when the Marauder blew up. His second bit of plot armor that got took by a beast.
God,
he is out of his 9 lives.
Right? Did anyone think? And this, I'm talking about this first episode. Did anyone think that? I think one of them ain't going to make it.
Many folks have thought that. I heard so many different speculations in the days and weeks ended up to it, that folks were so convinced they had it right in their head that we're gonna lose somebody. We're gonna lose somebody.
Yeah.
And it ended up not happening. And then when it did come to the final episode, going into that, who to each of Yin's, who was the cavalry? The cavalry has arrived is the title of the episode. Who was the cavalry? Do you think? Your opinion?
The cavalry was the rest of the clones. when they came in. No, when they freed the clones, and they asked for help. We're actually skipping this bit, yeah. But when they said
Yeah.
we can't do it alone, and what I mean, and they said we've got one last fight in us. That, or you could say the kids were, because they managed to create a diversion that worked. You know what I mean? But we skip it. We'll. It's a
I have
good.
an answer to that,
Go on then,
but
Chris.
I'll leave it till the end
Yeah.
because it will divert people.
Yeah. So because we definitely want to move into the next one.
Yeah.
It's a good segue.
Wrecker with his
Rob
plot
Boys.
armor. He lost
Plot
his
armor.
9 lives.
Yeah.
I thought, yeah,
He ain't got no more med packs. I'm okay
know,
for it.
a bit like a cat.
Yeah.
He's
I
lost
could
most of
go.
them at this point.
Yeah.
You know,
I'm pretty good at doing a Wrecker voice. Let's go.
and then so obviously, we see at the end as this episode comes to the end, we see Wrecker, Hunter, Crosshair, moving towards the base. They lose Rampart. Crosshair says, obviously, I will go alone because obviously Wrecker is badly injured, but they persevere and they move in. Then this episode very much and has 2 more splits, and that's the story of what is happening with Amiga and the kids, and the encounter that Echo faces.
Yeah.
Near
Oh,
the end.
yes. That's in this episode when Echo meets Dr. Carr, and she explains. That's in this first strike, and she explains about the M count. And he sits there, puts his arm on his, and she lets him do it. And he's going, and he didn't even know that. He goes, rest of the kids, and it's like, what kids? You know what I mean? What kids?
Wait, what kids? Yeah.
Yeah, so that whole interaction was really, really good. Echo, another character development. Echo, I only because I started rewatching the Clone Wars, and I think I said it the other week where I got to the episode where it introduced Echo. That Echo, yeah. So this one, totally different guy, but you can tell that war has shaped that man. Not into a killing machine, but to somebody who is a survivor, and very much he sees that every other clone as his brother. Because even in this episode and the next one, they're still shooting the semi clones, you could say, with stun bolts, not shot fire until a bit later on.
Just to talk about the bit with Emery and Echo, Emery knows that's Echo instantly because he had a bionicle hand.
Yes,
and it shows that obviously he has his hand in the machine, but then it swaps to him putting back on his hand. She obviously notices it and knows it's Echo. And there's two things that I said. Yeah. Wait, what kid? What other kids? And Echo taking off his helmet and saying, you're a clone. How could you do this to your own?
Yeah, what are you doing? Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, she's a clone. Yeah, you're right. I keep forgetting that she's an actual clone as well. And is she? Would Amiga turn up to look like her? Which she didn't, but you would have thought she would have done, wouldn't you? Yeah. Because it's the female version of the clone.
Yeah, and I think it's instantly that moment where Echo does say to her, this is your opportunity to fix what is happening, and Amiga wouldn't say it's something like Amiga sees something in you or something on them lines. And then she switches and says like, yeah, we'll help get the children out. And the episode ends.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, well, she finds something big, which is the Zillo beast. And I love, for years, I thought, from that episode where they had the Zillo beast, where they captured it, I was thinking, well, that was a plot line that seemed to go nowhere. Are they ever going to explain it? And of course, then the Clone Wars got cancelled, didn't it? And I was thinking, well, we're never going to find that one out, are we? Unless it's in a book. But thank God they've gone back to it twice. They came back to it twice in season 2 and now in season 3. I'm really, really glad about that.
And
Now,
also keeping in mind that original Zillow beast that we saw in the Clone Wars was killed. This one
oh
is
yeah,
a pure clone. We saw it when it was a baby.
Mm.
And then we
Well,
saw it grow whenever it escaped from that transport
and
ship. And
electricity.
now we see it on
Yeah.
Tantus as fully grown.
Yeah, I forget about that.
Mhm.
So let's move into now to the episode, the Cavalry has arrived. Can I just say, I love the beginning of this. It brought up the Star Wars square very slowly, and then the Bad Batch came slowly into focus, but like black and white. It didn't have any of the red color in it. It just came up very, very, very slowly, and I was thinking, oh my God. Oh my God. This is not going to be an enjoyable ride, maybe, or I'm going to be so nervous about this episode. And again, Kevin Kiner with his score, got it. He's just got it. I keep meaning to actually get the album down, actually, so I can rehear that score. But just that they know, don't they, how to get you just with the opening titles, because it always just goes boom,
Well,
boom, and on this one, no, it didn't. It just went.
At least the album came out after the show, so there was no, Miss Windu dies.
Oh my God, I bought that album and I'm like, what? Yeah. I'm just gonna see if let me just see, because I'm just seeing if it's actually somebody's put it online, that beginning bit, on our good old YouTube. Here we go. Bad Batch, season 3, episode 15. Opener. Should put opener. Opener.
So, yeah, while you're looking at that, we'll get started. The episode starts with Hemlock and Rampart speaking, and basically Hemlock pretty much saying, "Why are you here? You're not meant to be here." And obviously him saying pretty much, "I was forced." And then they swap on to talking about the Emperor in Admiral Rampart trying to basically say that, if he can step on Hemlock to get back to the Emperor's good side, that he will.
Mhm.
And, I think what was really good about this moment after Hemlock walks away is you see Nala say, and it's almost like, poetic, you could say, as in, the person that bombed the cities is in prison next to someone that their city was bombed, that crimes against humanity, all these things, it's still there. Even the Empire views Admiral Rampart as a bad person.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
they do horrific things.
He was a scapegoat.
Yeah, it was good. I can't find it. I can find no end of bits, but I can't find that beginning bit. But I've actually got a couple of clips. So as we're going along, if you hit a clip, if you talk about something, I think I could probably know when people have posted little clips.
It's like that one thing that comes to mind after you had a conversation. Whenever you think, "Oh, I could have said that."
Yes.
That.
So they was it at the beginning of this episode where that Hemlock gets that call from Governor Tarkin, not Governor Tarkin, so yeah, from Admiral Tarkin. It's like, and of course that's Steve Stanton as well, isn't it? Who comes in to do that voice?
I think it's about 20 minutes in. I think
Is it
Right thereabouts? Yep, right thereabouts.
Yeah, 50-minute episode. But we'll get on to the talking stuff later. So yeah, the episode obviously starts with the Admiral Rampart in jail. And then it cuts to the exposition slide between Echo and Emery speaking about where this vault is, why isn't it on any of the systems, what are they doing, how many kids, and obviously trying to hatch a plan. But already Omega has a plan in her own making. Yeah, so what is that plan? It's basically to drug the supervisor and escape through a hole.
Mm.
Don't know why this robot has sleeping drugs on it by default, but drug the
Yeah.
supervisor, sure, it's fine.
Yeah. That was actually quite good though, wasn't it? How it was so smooth, that robot just go around a like that. Yeah, I mean, I was thinking it's like those Boston Dynamic robots. And I mean, you think, they're harmless.
I
They're
could
going to
see
take over
that.
the world. You know what I mean? It just goes around and it goes, "Phoop, stab. Have you met my robot? Stabby. You know what I mean? That's a famous
Well,
scene in there.
you have to think most people in the Empire are very ignorant
Mm,
that these things wouldn't happen.
mm.
That kids can never do such a thing.
Yeah.
Why would you even have to worry about that? Why would you have to worry about these kids escaping, 15 laser barriers, 20 clones, and constantly being looked at downwards by people,
Yeah.
Absolutely. Dr. Scalder just proved your point, Chris. Absolutely.
It's
Yeah.
like, yeah, as they say in Jurassic Park, life finds a way.
Yep.
And obviously they then go to escape, and as they're escaping, Emery and Echo are starting to walk through said
Through the door,
laser
yeah.
barriers.
Yeah. Do you know when the kids are in those dumb waiters? I kept thinking, watch your fingers. You know what I mean? Because those things are like wham. And you know what Star Wars is like about losing limbs, you know what I mean? I was thinking, those fingers, they're like straight past.
That would have been in my mind one of those things that was right in between off screen that we didn't get to see, like all the times that Omega had with her brothers, especially with Echo, explaining when the time that she was on Tantus and her experiences, how she would have explained who Emery was, so that when Echo showed up there and knew who she was, it was because of his sister telling her. And that's how Emery knew who Echo was, because of her time with Emery explaining her experience. That's how folks were like, how do they know each other? Because of Omega.
Yeah.
She had the time that we didn't get to see, where she shared with whoever she was with, a brother or sister at the time. Yeah. In that little bit of time going up through the dumbwaiter. Yeah. I'm sure Omega had mentioned, keep your hands away from the rails, so that if something passes by, yeah, you're not losing fingers. Something we
That's
didn't
very,
need
very
to
true.
see, but was likely told off screen.
Yeah, like people forget hyperspace in Star Wars is not instant. Same thing with Star Trek,
Yep.
Things take time.
Absolutely.
But we obviously then go to the escape of the Zillo Beast. What do we think of that?
That was really good. It's like those guys was like should goes, there's kids in here. They're like, kids? And that bloke goes, get them out. Like, meanwhile, doesn't know that the force field has got in the bit is like coming up. I was thinking, well, here comes Godzilla. And I could have sworn I heard the Wilhelm scream in there. I could have sworn I
It
heard
was
it.
in there. It was
Yeah.
there.
Yeah, I was thinking, for Disney saying that, they've retired it. Yeah, I mean, they've started bringing it back into
Yep.
certain episodes.
It still makes little peaks here and there. It's not entirely gone.
Yeah, that's I think that's because now they tried to introduce a brand spanking new one. People just didn't recognize it. So
Well, I
when
just see
people,
it as now we have two of them.
yeah, and now with when you do hear it on every film I see, when they use that, I go, I'm like that meme, that one with what's his name,
DiCaprio.
DiCaprio, when he's going,
Mhm.
that's me every time I hear that. 100%. Yeah. And I tell you what, you see, to be fair, you do see some quite horrific, not horrific, but some proper stormtrooper deaths here. Some proper one. One gets stamped on, one gets eaten.
Mhm.
My God. And of course, they blast it, don't they? But
They
it
try.
feeds off energy, don't it? It feeds off the energy.
Yeah, they
doesn't it?
try, and
The only way to actually stop it is gassing it, if I remember.
Yes.
I think it was
Yeah.
gassing it. I can't
Yeah.
quite remember.
And then it completely smashes everything, doesn't it? And then it looks for a way, and of course it's up. Do you know? I swear I've seen that kind of thing in like a Godzilla film, or where there's no way, and it looks up and it has to climb up through something to get back out. And for the life of me, I can't remember which film it was. And it's
Probably a King
bugged me.
Kong film.
Probably
Oh,
is.
But also, then it
yeah,
escapes
that
and does a
sounds
big
familiar.
roar, and that's like very Jurassic Park.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
Jurassic Park as well. Yeah.
We see it escape Tanta's base, and we see we see Wrecker, Hunter, and Crosshair looking through their scopes, and you notice that Crosshair's hand is shaking.
Still,
so
yeah.
obviously he is not happy to be back here. When not happy, he obviously has bad PTSD that is shown later in the episode. But yeah, we then obviously cut forward to now that Amiga has let out the Zilla Beast and everyone is occupied. That's when Amiga then lets out all the rest of the clones.
Yeah.
Well, sorry, just before that,
No, just
she
before
meets
that.
up with I'm
Echo.
trying to split the stories a little because you swap back between them.
Yeah.
But Amiga then meets Emery and so
Echo, 'cause
Emery and Echo leave the vault because they're not there.
Yeah.
Then they meet Amiga with the kids.
Yeah.
Then
That bit got. Do you know? Just pausing. That bit was really, really good. Do you know where the stormtroopers are standing outside and they hear that bang? And you see the door go bang, and they're like, huh? And also just goes wham, and a couple
Mhm.
and it stamps on them and out, and then that's how the kids get out because they've gone up. And what did Echo say? He goes, "You got a lift."
I know where Christopher was going with this when he came around the corner and he said, "What kind of trouble are you up to, Havoc 5?"
Yes.
And then he sees her and the kids, and he takes his helmet off, and he's like, "Hey, Omega," and or "Hey, kid," and other kids.
And other kids, yeah.
so
The other thing as well, Chris, did you notice how they deliberately make the clones accurate shooters compared to the stormtroopers? Like, pop, 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 easy enough. But the stormtroopers were still like, you know what I mean?
but that is something that's obviously spoke about a lot, that the clones have been bred for war.
Yes.
When the stormtroopers are conscripted.
Yeah.
Very different scenarios.
Yeah. And Rampart never, ever seemed to realize, did he, that how good the clones were. He was so up his own bum about the clones and cloning that he never got it, even though it was right in front of his eyes. I mean, how good they were.
And Hemlock did see that, and saw how they could be taken further.
Yes.
And obviously, this is where we get to the point where that Amiga is reunited with Echo and Emery. They've all escaped. The scenes have been switched around a bit, but as that's happening, Wrecker, Hunter, and Crosshair start approaching the base, and this is where Hemlock knows time to pull out the wild cards, the special weapons.
Yes.
And he activates all of his last shadow clones. I forgot if that's the final name for them.
I would call them elite operatives. They're similar to the ones that he can recondition, but these ones are for some kind of have likened them to the Imperial version of the Bad Batch.
Yeah, the
Another
Imperial
set of
version of the
skills.
Bad Batch. You're right. I thought that, but
Mhm.
according to like Wikipedia, they're called Clone X Troopers.
Mhm.
But I would say they are the opposite to the Bad Batch. The where they all were, it's like they were clones of the Bad Batch. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they each
And
had a
what?
particular set of skills.
Yeah, and what I liked is you only vaguely saw their faces as the helmets came on, so you could see how each one was different, and they had the special weapons and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And
And people were still saying, it's one of them Echo Tech.
I
One
did,
of them
I
must be
did.
Tech.
I did as well, because what's the old trope? If you didn't see the body, don't necessarily think he's dead. You know what I mean? But and I said that last time to you, Chris, and I'm so glad they didn't. Yeah, I mean they didn't. They just carried on going. You know what I
Yep.
mean, with the story. And the Bad Batch come through that that way, don't they? Into the the hangar that's all naffed up. And
Yeah.
Hunter goes, "Our men," and Crosshair goes, "Too many." You know what I mean? But he sees them, the elite clone X troopers, and the moment they Crosshair fires, they scatter really, really fast, where the other stormtroopers don't. Now, of course, Crosshair's hand is shaking, isn't it? But he shoots, doesn't he? Shoot some of those little explosions around. You know what I mean? Which go off, and those clone X troopers, they are fast,
Mhm.
and
And they got razor swords, right? I
yeah,
forgot what they call them.
yeah, those vibro blades, light up vibro blades, Tron
Yeah.
editions, Tron edition vibro blades. Now, they literally they managed to take out our heroes, the Bad Batch, fast. And when you see and it's like Crosshair's the last one, isn't he? And he
Mhm.
reaches for his gun, and that foot goes on his arm. He goes, what's he say to me? He says about his hand. He goes,
I've got a fix for your shaky hand.
I've got to fix for your shake. Yeah, literally. And you see that blade going, and wham. I thought, oh, Star Wars trope number one. Somebody was
Yeah,
loses a
the
hand.
camera cut at the last minute before that blade made contact.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a wince moment right there.
It was, yeah. Oh God. Um hand. Let me
You
have to
should
see
be
if I
more
can...
careful with your shooting hand.
That's it.
Oh, that's it, yeah. So if I can I'll actually put that a bit in. It's on YouTube, of course. So little clips, and they're not been followed. So let's just go here.
So
I'll play it, but of course, oh, you won't hear it, will you?
it may be best not to, because we
Okay.
have been going for a long time, 2 hours.
Yeah. It's
And,
understandable. Yeah.
So obviously they get captured, and we then see the clones with Amiga and Nala Se. Amiga and Nala Se reunite and have a moment. I thought that was really good. This is where Nala Se says to Amiga that the only way they're going to be free is with Hemlock gone. And Nala Se knows that, and she takes things into her own hands on her own path, and that is destroying the data banks,
Yes.
mass amounts of information.
Yeah.
And that is not a task for Amiga.
No.
That is a task for her, Nala Se. And Amiga's got her own task.
Yeah,
And
that's right.
For a person that always speaks quite slow, she got her point across quite fast that time.
Yes, she did. And when Amiga, of course, unlocking all those cells, she unlocks, of course, Rampart. And bearing in mind, they did witness that the Bad Batch had been captured, so they thought they were already in them cells. When she went looking, she couldn't find a but. Rampart was listening to say about that
data banks.
and he's always one for like, oh, perhaps I could tell this to my situation because he's
Mhm.
desperate, isn't he, to get back in the good books of the Empire, isn't he? See if he can
Yeah,
redeem
he's
himself.
desperate to look out for himself and himself only.
Yeah, yeah. And of course, they don't find. And then that's when Echo goes, right then, lads. You know what I mean? We can't do this alone. And of course, all the other troops go, got one last fight in us, which I thought was brilliant. Yeah, I mean,
Mhm.
absolutely brilliant. And the Bad Batch are in the training area, in the training section, which I thought it looked like it was above where the kids were kept. Do you know what I mean? Like, because the way
Mm.
the
It was.
revolt,
It's more
it was like,
above a circular arena training area.
yeah, well, yeah, because you saw it. I'm sure you saw it where you saw the laser door and they walked in, but the way that was up, and then there was like another bit, and I I
Yeah,
got
it was
confused
on a
where this,
level, and there was a turbo lift that went
yeah,
up to, just like Jamie had said, a
yeah,
big circular room above.
yeah, and I thought that's where the training room was,
Yeah.
above where the kids were initially kept. That's what I thought it was. But yeah, so they go looking, and they need a plan. And of course, they send Amiga through the vents. Because she's small enough, exactly what she did before, and she was like on the comms to tell them what they're seeing, aren't they? So it was, this was painful. This was because so many good clones in this next scene it was literally just trying to buy time with their lives, literally trying, which was heartbreaking for me. I was thinking, oh man, these guys have been put through so much, but they didn't die on their knees. You know what I mean? Did they? They died fighting, which they were originally
Well,
bred for.
but they died to their own brothers.
Yes, yeah,
Yeah, in some pretty brutal ways. The first one to get taken out was through one of the barriers that had popped up.
yeah,
The CX clones was right behind with that vibro sword.
yeah, straight through.
Out of nowhere, it just appears not only through the wall, but right through that poor clone's chest.
I know. I was like, oh Christ! You know what I mean?
That shows exactly how deadly those elites were.
Mm.
Exactly how at one point how much business they meant.
Yeah. It was so good. And but it looked like the tide was turning a little bit, wasn't it? Because then they decided to chuck in the gas. Didn't they chuck in the gas at that point?
Yeah.
Or was it just as the Bad Batch awaken? Because Amiga gets, because she sees what's happening and she notices that the CX I call him the CX clone, the CX trooper, was up there watching what was going on. So
Mhm.
she got up and started freeing she was not Hunter, was it? She weren't freeing Hunter, she was freeing
Crosshair is who she started with.
Crosshair. Yeah.
There's there's something obviously important here. It's like, which one do you start with?
Somebody got to be first.
Yeah.
So she's on there and she releases the hand. Oh yeah, because she notices that Crosshair's lost his hand, and because a droid put it on. And just prior to that, when they were being tortured, Hemlock said to Hunter, if you survive, you will make excellent troopers, for his things. I was thinking, Jesus Christ.
Funny
Yeah,
enough, he started with Crosshair, but who actually got freed first was Wrecker. The two wrist binders. Once those got unlocked, the cover he was in that reconditioning pod.
Yeah,
He literally kicked the whole
it off
thing right off of him and just busted his way out.
Yeah,
like,
he did.
Incredible Hulk, isn't it? It's like,
Mhm.
that hands off, is that enough? And obviously, while that is happening, the clones are facing each other, and it kind of reminds me of like Battle of Umbara.
Okay.
That's the episode in I think it's season 4 of Clone Wars, where the Jedi general is putting the clones against each other without them knowing.
Oh,
And it's
Palm
like,
Trail. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's like, do these know that the other ones are clones? Well, the clones that are Clone X's know that they're clones, but the clones don't know that the Clone X's are clones. So
No, I see
it's
where you're
very
going.
heartbreaking.
I see where you're going, Chris, where it takes Rex yelling, take off your helmets so that everybody can see each other's clones.
Yeah, and we saw that
Yeah.
the last time Rex was in this season of like the same points still stand of like Scorch, not Scorch, Wolf letting them go because they are still the same people.
Yes.
And you know, that's something that we see here is obviously a lot of the Bad Batch has their inhibitor chips removed. And do we know if Wolf had his removed by that point? Probably not, but he still had that reliance. When these Clone X's have probably had their inhibitor chips dialed up to like 1,000 and more, you know?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
definitely is bad, not bad, but sad that, you know, these clones are dying to their own brother's hands. you know?
Yeah. Meanwhile, now Say is in her lab, and what we, she took a detonator. So, she's gone to destroy her work. And who turns up and points a gun at her? Rampart.
But
Rampart.
just before we speak about this, there's one thing you're forgetting, and that's your middle manager calling you. Check on progress.
Yeah. And he says to her about the information, and he learns about the information, doesn't he? And unfortunately, he kills Now Say, and she's the last of her people, wasn't she?
She
She was
was.
the
Wait,
last.
I think he says about, he doesn't care about the science. He just wants it to get ahead up with the Emperor,
Yes.
Yeah, to try and get himself reinstated back into a position in the Empire.
Yeah. And so he shoots and kills her, and then he's like, "Oh, happy chappy, yeah, I've done it." And then what rolls towards his foot? The detonator. And that scene then, I thought were brilliant. You actually see it, him explode really, really fast with the whole room, and the camera pulls out the room door, and you see the room door go black with smoke and fire. So everything was destroyed, and I went, "Ha! Gotcha, you asshole! Got you." So he had his. So he got his come up
in that moment. He knew who messed up.
Yeah, and it was at that point. Yeah, he knew he had upped. Yes, absolutely. Yeah. So getting back to the fight, it looks like it's not going their way. So with the clones, so the gas starts being leaked out. Now, with what Rawls said about Wrecker suddenly getting up, kicking that pod door, and I thought this is where Wrecker were going to bite it, because he got in, he went for it, smashed out that top thing, hit the deck, rolled down, and I thought, that's it. He's gone out on a trying to save everyone. Did any of you think that was it?
Yeah, I did think that was really close. Yeah, he took one of the CX troopers clean through that window with him and down onto the deck below the training room. Yeah, he was already tore up. His chest armor tore open from the dry axe, taking that swipe at him.
Yeah.
Clean down through his bodysuit. Yeah, and then that fall had to be at least a good couple levels from the top of the training platform down below. Yeah, that was really, really close. And he was not in any kind of fighting shape after that.
No. And he took him out, killed him. And that was the turning.
He didn't take him out. The CX troopers stood back up.
Oh, he did, didn't he?
The clone took him out.
Yes. And that was the turning point where the clones manage to then sort of clear the way and kill these CX troopers. And Hunter, he gets up, doesn't he? He says something, and he's got that staff, hasn't he, with the electricity, and
It
he
looks
goes,
like a vibro spear. Yeah, he
yeah,
threw that one straight to the wall.
Skewered.
yeah, skewered him. Rotush. Yeah, and Hemlock, he knew, he basically knew what was going on here. Time for me to go.
And even Hunter says to Crosshair, you should stay here. You lost a hand.
Yeah, not a chance.
He goes, no. He goes,
Not a
try
chance.
stopping me. Yeah, and he goes out. And now this shot that we came up to was fantastic. You know what I mean? With the weather, the night shoot, and the way that it was all positioned. And one of my favorite clone troopers here, Scorch, actually bites it. He gets killed.
Right,
Right,
he
and
did make a stand trying to
yeah,
put up some kind of defense for Hemlock, and I was counting the shots that just straight into his chest plate, and then over the rail he went.
Yeah,
There were
and
a
I
lot of
like
folks kind
Scorch.
of disappointed in that, but
Yeah, the chest last wouldn't have killed him, but the fall would have.
Yeah,
Yes.
Scorch made his decision on what side he was gonna. He chose the Empire, and he paid for that.
Yeah,
that decision.
I've got his action figure right over there. Yeah, one of my favorite Republic Commandos. Yeah, I love the design of the Republic Commandos. The helmets, just always love that design. And of course, just prior to him being killed, of course, that fantastic arrow-shaped ship comes over and it gets both its engines shot out and crashes. And then Hemlock turns around, Scorch gets killed, and there's Hunter and Crosshairs staggering towards them. And then they crouch down, and of course, Hemlock goes and he gets Amiga and he goes, "They're not going to kill you." But it's like, well, where are you going to go? What's going to happen?
Yeah,
I mean,
he tried intimidating her as if I go over, you go over too.
Yeah. And this scene was brilliant because Crosshairs was on Hunter's shoulder trying to get the shot. And you can't think of how difficult that shot would have been. Bearing in mind it's the weather, the rain, the uncertainty of the person he's trying to get.
And he's doing it left-handed, the only way that he can.
Yes.
It does cut, to what happens with Wrecker and Echo, between this as well. But we'll finish what happens with Amiga first.
Yeah. Okay.
I think what's really important here is Crosshair says he can't take the shot without hurting Amiga.
Yeah. Yeah, he does, doesn't he? But he says, no, wait. He goes, take the bite, shoot the binders, didn't he? And even I was thinking, oh Christ!
He
now
says he can't.
Yeah,
he can't risk Amiga.
Even a smaller. But he says, wait for Amiga. She knows what she's doing.
She knows what to do.
Yeah, she pulls out that little pick that she's had.
Pick.
Yeah, and then she stabs Hemlock, and he goes, puts his arm up, shoots immediately, splits it. She falls on the floor, and then they go, and then he goes over. Job done. The end of Hemlock. You know what I mean? I thought, oh, so good. And then that scene where she runs and holds Crosshair. You know what I mean? She runs and gets him. It brought a tear to my eye. I won't be ashamed to say it. It brought a tear to my eye. And then she grabs Hunter and they hug.
She grabbed him, got him into. Yep.
Brilliant. What do you guys think of that scene?
Absolutely.
I wish it wasn't in the dark because I watched it in the daytime. I was like, what's happening?
Is this a Game of Thrones episode 8, season 4 situation?
But after closing the curtains, it was
there was an episode of Game of Thrones, and it was like this major battle, but for some reason they lit it in the dark. You could hardly
So
see
you
anything.
need to
on it.
watch it in the dark to even
Yeah,
see
They did, yeah.
because obviously reflections from the sunlight made it a bit
Yeah,
hard to see.
yeah.
But yeah, joking. I thought this was obviously such a strong moment and the redemption arc of Crosshair that, and Hunter to work together, to overcome all of that to save Amiga, I think was amazing. And obviously, you can't forget about the other Bad Batches, Echo and Wrecker, and they're fighting the last two CX units with one last clone, and yeah, they managed to take them down as well, but they're pretty beat up.
Yeah,
At the end of it.
did you notice one of the clones lost his helmet and he reached for the helmet? One of the CX troopers, he actually reached for the helmet instead of reaching for his gun. Actually, to like put his helmet, and then they got him. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Great,
Yeah.
great, and yeah, no stun bolts there. No
No.
stun bolts there.
Yeah, that final helmet was pretty much like I saw that. I was like, Star-Lord?
Yeah, there was one. That was the only helmet that I thought is very much like Tech. The way the eyepieces.
Color, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
then Wrecker literally picks him up and smacks him into the wall.
Yeah. Because if it was Tech, I don't think he would have done that. He would have like that kind of thing.
And that's the worst part was like, is Wrecker gone? Because he's lying there. He's like, he's gonna die in the next 5 minutes.
Yes.
Because they all reunite.
Yeah. I thought that as well. Thought, oh my god. But so they all reunite and they make their quick exit because guess what's coming?
The cavalry.
Yes, this could be the cavalry. Yes, Admiral Tarkin and
the cavalry, like I was going to say in the
here comes-
beginning.
Yeah,
The cavalry, truly.
yeah, you could do. Yeah, but better late than never, I suppose. Know what I mean?
But what did they turn up in?
Yeah, this one really, that was one that just shocked and surprised in one of the best ways. Was flanked by two Venator cruisers, was a fresh, off the line Imperial 1 class Star Destroyer.
Yes.
My favorite ship in all of the galaxy. A Millennium what? No,
Yeah.
a Star Destroyer.
Star Destroyer. Yeah, and that scene was so good. You saw the Bad Batch in that ship go fly past him, and it goes, and all of a sudden, boom, boom. I thought, they just know those sweet spots that we love. Oh, got all cold. Ooh.
Yeah, allow me to be that kind of a ship nerd. Allow me to be that kind of a ship nerd for 1 second to tell. I said it was a 1 class Star Destroyer. The way to tell the difference, I think I've said it here before, is the deflector shield array at the very top of the conning tower is a big X. On the 2 class, there's not one there. There's a level communications tower. That's how you can tell the immediate difference between a 1 class and a 2 class.
I did have one here.
Yeah, I'm that kind of nerd.
Yeah, I want to guess that. But it was a beautiful sight to behold. I mean, absolutely. And there's one thing I do like. I think I've said it no end of times when it comes to like the games and the animation and the films. When ships come out of hyperspace in Star Wars, I love it. My favorite, I have to say, my favorite is in Return of the Jedi when they come out of when they're on the attack run to the Death Star and they come out to hyperspace and you see the Death Star go right really forward and then it goes into the shot where they will go boom, 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 and I was like, oh yeah.
Oh, you get to see it like point of view from the cockpit. Just first, you get to see the rebellion show up at Scarif. You see it from the cockpit point of view where there's a light tunnel and all of a sudden it's like, whoom, there they are.
Yeah. Oh,
yeah, that's the best.
I love that bit. Yeah. So the Admiral Tarkin is he Admiral Tarkin at that point?
I have a dispute with that because the rank badge that he has on his left
Governor.
chest does show the red tiles below with the 3 blue and the 3 gold, which if you look it up, and I have rank charts that I've saved, canon rank charts, I'd be happy to share them if you want them for your files, that show that that is a Grand Moff.
Grand Moff
A
Tarkin.
regular governor would not have the 6 red, the 3 blue, and the 3 gold. It would have 5 red,
Yes.
3 blue, and 2 gold is a Moff. But he shows 12, 6 and 6. And they refer to him as, I'm pretty sure it is Grand Moff.
Grand
and this
Moff.
takes place at 18 years before the Battle of Yavin.
No, it says they call him Governor Tarkin.
Yeah, if you go by the title Grand Moff, that happens in the Tarkin novel written by James Luceno, which is in 14 years before the Battle of Yavin. So that is still 2 or 3 years ahead in the future.
Yeah.
Honestly,
because at this
probably a
point, there
mistake.
are only Imperial governors. There's no Grand Moff yet. Palpatine makes that rank exclusive to Tarkin is the first Grand Moff.
So that's quite interesting then.
That's the only little nitpick. I'm not putting any kind of haterism on it. Just a little nitpick that I had noticed that he's wearing the rank badge at the wrong period of time in the story. Yeah, just a little take this kind of, it's called a noticement. I've heard another podcaster kind of use that. I'll use a nitpicky noticement that I got.
Chris?
I possibly think it was it's probably a mistake, and it's like the person that pulled the model probably pulled the wrong model and then updated it and was like, did you check the badge colors? It's like, yeah, of course I checked the badge colors. And then it was like, yeah. And
there's also the matter of maybe somebody from Story Group might have missed that one. It is a tiny detail that the nittiest of nitpicks that even for me is better off.
Absolutely. Do you know those kind of nitpicks where somebody hasn't told somebody and it's gone to marketing? My favorite one, this is a bit of a sad note. My favorite one was a James Bond film called Tomorrow Never Dies. Do you remember that? Yeah. James Bond, Tomorrow Never Dies. Do you know what the proper title of that film is supposed to be? Tomorrow Never Lies. Right? Because it's about that. Yeah, it's because it's about the newspaper Mongol who's making up the news. So tomorrow's news never lies because he makes it up. And for some reason, they misheard it over the phone and went straight into marketing and went, tomorrow never dies. And then, of course, it was too late for them to go because it was everywhere. And they went, oh, shit, let's do that. And I think there's a version of the song called Tomorrow Never Lies. But then they had to change it to Tomorrow Never Dies. There you go.
I got one more for you that you might not have caught. And this one is directly Star Wars related. And it comes from a time long before there was a Story Group. This is in Return of the Jedi. Look at every Imperial officer that starts with Moff Jared to every officer we've seen, from all the ones when when Darth Vader arrives on the Death Star to the ones in the landing bay when the Emperor arrives to the Battle of Endor. Every Imperial officer is wearing the same rank badge.
Yeah.
3 red on top and 3 red on the bottom. The costume department didn't get the rank badge. They wanted to get those details right, but somebody missed that one. So every rank badge all the Imperial officers, Admiral Oz or Admiral Piet is wearing the wrong rank badge on the bridge of the Executor at the Battle of Endor. Everybody is wearing the same. It's a commander. A commander in the army and in the Navy it would be a captain. They're all wearing the wrong rank badges in Return of the Jedi. So the next time you put it on, yeah, take that one little thing and put it back there. And then
Yeah, I'll remember that. Just a quick side. Well, what rank are you, by the way, Royal Fanboy? What rank are you? Because you got the hat and the t-shirt. Have you got the jacket?
No, I would have been my TK ID in the Legion right now is inactive. No, I would be enlisted.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah, I never held an officer's rank. I'm Imperial Stormtrooper. I would just be one of the grunts of the line in the Stormtrooper division.
So
This is my off-duty out of uniform.
whilst we've just been speaking,
Yeah,
I've just checked season 2, episode 15, and Grand Moff Tarkin does have a governor badge.
right.
So the badge obviously was changed for this
episode.
badge is
That's
different.
interesting.
Good catch, Christopher.
So I think he's actually got the Admiral badge. He has
That would be no gold. That would be
just red.
6 red and 6 blue.
Yeah. I think he's literally just got the let me just turn that off.
That's
He
interesting.
has-
That. So
will
they've
tell you.
actually changed it, thinking.
Yeah, he has complete red along the top, complete blue along the bottom.
Yep, that's an admiral. The same badge that Director Krennic wears when he doesn't have his all-weather
And
cape on.
Krennic in this episode, he's also in this episode. Remember,
Is he?
He has, I think, the same badge.
I also can't
Is
go
he in
with
this episode? Krennic is in this episode.
No, in season 2, episode 15.
Oh yeah. Sorry, yes. Yeah.
I got one that's a little bit older than Return of the Jedi. When you go to take out of A New Hope on the Tantive 4, when Darth Vader has Captain Antilles in front of him, when he puts him up to choke him, and you see Antilles' rank badge, it's a square that has 5 blue squares on it. That's a rebellion admiral. A captain should have. Cassian Andor wears the same. There should be 2.
Yeah.
In blue for the Navy. Red is the Army. Captain Antilles in A New Hope is wearing an admiral's rank, but he's called Captain Antilles.
I always thought they're weird, those the Rebels badges, because it looked like a dice. You know what I mean? A side of a dice.
It looks exactly like what the number 5 on the dice would be, except they're square instead of round.
Yeah, that's interesting. That is. You'll have to send me that Royal Fanboy with the the Admiral ranks things. Yeah, that was interesting.
Will do.
Chris?
Look for it in the RFE DMs on the Twitterverse. I will send it.
Cool, Chris. You seem to be. You
I was just checking that. Yeah, so in season 2, episode 15, Tarkin had the Admiral badge, and then obviously in this episode he has the Grand Moff badge.
You heard it here, folks, right here on Radio Free Endor. We've just found that out. Well done. Good spot in there.
I think
both of you. Absolutely.
I'm pretty sure it was the Grand Moff badge in this episode. But the most interesting thing, obviously, he has 3 red, 3 yellow. 3 red, 3 yellow is Grand Moff. Yeah. So,
cool. And we also get that fantastic beauty shot again, looking down at the tunnel of space, and then you see the Star Destroyer slowly go down, which look beautiful, absolutely beautiful.
Did you notice who Admiral Tarkin was speaking to? Well, technically, she calls him Governor.
But on the ground?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, sir. That was Captain Bragg.
Mm-hmm. And we've seen her before.
We met her on Raxus Secundus back in season 1, whenever they went to rescue Senator Avi Singh.
Where the planet was restless, and she's like, "It's Imperial rule now. Get used to it."
Yep.
Right, of course, yeah. Bragg was a female human who served as captain in the Galactic Empire following the end of the Clone Wars tasked with promoting cooperation from the uneasy populace of Rexus, the former confederate of the independent system Catapult. She enlisted it with Senator A.V. Singh to get the residents on board. Bragg addressed the people of Rexus during the gathering and brought forth Singhs to help her. However, the senator defied the empire, leading the captain to have him arrested and scatter the crowd. Yeah, good pull on that. Didn't catch that. I did not catch that.
I just loved that they picked an officer called Bragg. Bragg is a like a British colloquialism for like
bragging rights.
Yeah, saying like, oh yeah, I can jump the highest or the furthest, and you would brag about being able to do that. I had the most money. So to have an officer called Captain Bragg, technically saying, yeah, put it all on Stardust, this place is gone.
Yes.
I thought it was quite funny.
Probably the only reason that stood out to me from remembering that silly little detail, aside from her being one of the Imperial girls who would catch my eye, is she just happens to be a brunette with blue eyes, which is a weakness to me. I don't care if she's a cartoon. She's a brunette with blue eyes.
Yes. Yeah. And also that Tarkin thinks that, because he finds out that all the data has been destroyed, everything, and he thought it was a waste of time anyway. And that's why he says, skull the place, bring all the resources to Project Stardust. Of course, fantastic link into Rogue One with Project Stardust, which I thought was absolutely brilliant. It was just like the chef's kiss for that.
But there's a reason, why he thinks it's all a waste of the time. Why would you want to extend the Emperor's life? He is second in line.
Yes. And it was fantastic because now, because it's the events from, you would say, from the Mandalorian that sort of pushed the way for the cloning technique for The Last Jedi. Yeah. Not this. So you can tell that it was in place, but they just couldn't get it right.
Yeah, a lot of other friends caught on to this that it couldn't happen right now, or that would have changed everything. That it ends up being taken. This is where Palpatine makes a decision. All right, we're not doing it in this galaxy. This is all going to be funneled to where he's going to eventually move it all to Exegol, outside the galaxy completely.
Yeah. I get it out of the way. Yeah. Can you just imagine that phone call? There's the Emperor in his room. He goes, "Hello, yeah, loving it here. Yes, Tantalus Space, lovely place. Yes, I've got a good project going over there. What? Yeah."
No, I'm not seeing it. It sounds like Jamie's writing some new. Would this be in relation to Robot Chicken?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, the Emperor's a lot more nonchalant than that. Don't you remember in episode 3 when Mace Windu is walking in to arrest him? He just has the Death Star plans up.
Yeah. Check it out. It's a new hologram I've got. It's fantastic.
Not quite the same. But we're almost at the end of the episode. There's two more scenes.
Yeah.
But when you asked in the beginning, who were the cavalry? I thought it was Tarkin personally. It didn't have to be about the Bad Batch.
Oh, wow. That just gave me a whole new way the next time I sit down to watch this. Wow.
Yeah.
I like that.
It's too late. It's already all gone, but doesn't mean that they're not the cavalry.
Yeah. Chris, I think you're dead right on that, because you watch these films where the crap's gone down and right at the last moment, there's and he goes, "Oh, well, great, here comes the cavalry." You know what I mean? And it's they've missed it. So you're dead right. I think you have hit the nail on the head for that. I think you're dead right, 100%.
Yeah, this is why I love that I have so many different pods in my ears, because I hear other folks. It's like I'm watching through their eyes. And now Christopher's just brought this up. And out of the many hundreds of other opinions I've heard from different podcasters, not a one has matched this. This is one single. Yeah, nobody said anything like what Chris has said. which gives me another reason. Yeah, the next time I go watch this, it's like I'm going to be watching through his
Yeah,
eyes.
because like typically the cavalry, like my dad said, it normally saves the day. We all expected Rex to turn up with 100 clone troopers.
Yes,
No,
Many
yes.
folks were.
the Bad Batch saved themselves and got out there before the
Mm.
cavalry arrived
Yeah.
to,
Well,
you
no.
know,
Yeah.
fix the day.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because if the cavalry arrived, they would all have died. They almost all died anyway, you know.
Chris,
So
you get the clap for today.
that's
And
my
thumbs up, mate.
interpretation.
Yeah.
And that's why I didn't say it earlier, because
Oh, you sat on it. You sat on
all
it,
the
didn't
way
you?
into Grand Admiral turning up in a Star Destroyer for the first time.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. So of course,
Final scenes. You know,
the final scene. Yeah.
yeah.
So
the best part of these final scenes is they're all, you know, we say what happens to the clones. Well, where do they go?
they went back to, is it Pabu Island to live out their lives there, and they're all free. They can make up their own destinies now.
Yeah,
and
they
the thing is,
out what
the first thing
they only know one thing. They have to figure out something. What do they want to do? The galaxy is theirs. What do you want to do?
Yeah.
And something that I think is so interesting is the first comment that comes up is, well, why doesn't the Empire know? Well, the people that did know died.
Yeah, they're gone.
And they didn't tell anyone else.
Yeah.
No,
And
Hemlock knew. Hemlock's gone. And anybody else he would have shared that with, they're gone too.
Yeah, that's right. And you can think about it. None of the clones have got chain codes, so they can't be followed. So they can just live out a happy life there. Really, raise families because they can have kids, can't they?
The one thing I noticed about these scenes is you see all of them. You see the kids. You see Emery. But my boy Echo looked like he got a tan. He no longer looks ghost. He looks slightly more normal.
He did. Still a bit gaunt underneath his eyes. I know, like, I could do with some sleep.
Yeah. But he definitely looks like he's had a bit of vitamin D. Doesn't look so pale.
Well, he's got that new hand. He can actually now reach on this side with the ointment now, can't he?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah. It was a good scene. It was a really good scene. The clones, you saw them, you saw the kids.
The only thing that, more of a nitpick than anything is the kids didn't go back to their parents, but I guess it's deemed too much of a risk, because of bounty hunters out there. But
Amiga asks Hunter, and they say Crosshair and Wrecker are on it. So I think they would.
I reckon they'll bring the parents there.
Yeah. Basically, because those bounty hunters know where they got the kids from, and the Bad Batch could quite easily use their connections to find out where they got these kids from.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because they're only interested in money, aren't they? At the end of the day, I mean, would that be classed as not a rebate? Would that be classed as a refund? Taking the kids back.
Forcibly refunded.
Yeah, I don't do refunds.
But remember, we all know Cad Bane's got no problem stealing kids. So,
yeah, that's true. Yeah, that is very, very true.
Yeah, what I thought was really good, and if there's any iconic scenes in the Bad Batch, to me, it's one of these final scenes of Wrecker, Hunter, Crosshair, Amiga, and Batcher sitting there by the tree. They've done enough battles for a lifetime.
Absolutely. 3 years of the Clone Wars plus 2 years after, that's plenty enough.
And you got to remember, they've got their lifespans are like dogs, 7 years for every year. So it's a long time for them.
Yeah. Well said, Jamie. Well said.
It's a long time for them.
One thing we did notice as well is Pabu has looked more developed. Obviously, we saw Earthquake that ruined it, and obviously Empire. But they built it bigger. And much bigger. And then, obviously, to close it out, there's one final scene.
One more scene, yeah.
Do you think this should have came after the credits? Or do you think it was quite good it was before?
It seemed to me that it paused and went to black for for slightly too long. They were like, should we put the credits in here? Yay, nay, yay, nay. And then they went, nah, let's just go with it. Because I would like to have seen the credits dun, 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 and then click into that scene like they do with like the Mandalorian and all the others. But it was a really good scene. Now, bear in mind, this reminded me of the last chapter. Hey, I'm going to spoil the Harry Potter novel here, but the 19 years later. Did not like that in the Harry Potter thing. I thought they've sort of like put it was awful, and I didn't like it when they filmed it. But for the Bad Batch, I did like it because it gave a nice link to a possible spin-off, maybe. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it opens up in the very early dawn hours on Pabu with a very shady, well, not quite able to make out. You can see the silhouette shape of someone. It took me a little bit because I watched with the curtains drawn, so in a darker room, so that I could. So even in those early morning hours on screen, I thought, okay, who is this? Took a little bit till they made their way to that cave.
Yeah. And Hunter was already waiting for her because he just knew that she would turn up. And Badger's still alive. You know what I mean? But there again, you don't know what the lifespan of it is. But because how many years do you think this is now from that?
Well, they say the rebellion needs pilots, so I would reckon it's probably quite early in the rebellion. You know,
so like what, 6,
Amiga
7 years?
ages normally.
Yeah,
Amiga ages normally. Say she was 15 in the 14, 15 in the TV show. She's probably 20 now. Maybe 5-6 years. You know,
yeah, I'd go with that, Chris. Yeah.
And then obviously the clones age very much faster than that. So 5 years is like 25, 30. I'd say about 5-6 years later.
Yeah.
I've been arguing with myself over this because when I first saw it and I was trying to click and do the math as I'm watching, especially on rewatches, I didn't quite bother with it so much on first watch. I was soaking in everything I got. And then the second watch, I'm thinking, all right, it ends on Pabu with Omega. She's 15 years old at the very end. All of season 3, she's 15. So, and then it flash forwards, and yes, her mentioned that the rebellion needs pilots. She doesn't mention what kind of pilot. Is it fighter pilots? Is it freighter pilots? She doesn't. All she says is pilots. And then looking at her, and I'm thinking, all right, so there's a rebellion. It immediately put me to, all right, this is 10 years after, so she would be 25.
Yeah.
But at 10 years after that, the rebellion is still just individual cells. They haven't come together on Yavin is the first we get to see a proper rebellion kind of drawn together.
Yes.
Even in season 4 or season 3 of Rebels, they're not quite, they're just starting to gather together on Yavin when Saw Gerrera sends that hologram arguing with Mon Mothma.
Yeah.
It's still not quite a proper rebellion. So yeah, now I'm kind of tended more to agree with Christopher that it would be maybe more like 15, which would make Omega 30. So even in that image of her and Hunter in the cave, I could see her being 30 is still young.
Yeah. And you know, I thought this was a really interesting thing where even then Hunter's like, I gotta keep you safe. It's like, you done it.
Yeah. You did all you could. She's proven herself time and again to be able, even her younger years, to very much stand up for herself. Now it's time for her. Yeah, she did what every dad ain't ready to do, just like Jamie did with you, Chris, when it was time for you to head off on your own. Yeah, he did. The only other thing he could do is, if you need us, we'll be there. Just like I did yesterday with my youngest girl who just graduated high school. Now, she did it on a Friday. So I told her yesterday, I said, you have a weekend. Come Monday. The world is yours.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
to do with whatever it is you want to do. It's not up to your mom. It's not up to me. It's all yours now, girl.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, congratulations, by the way. That was
No, she
I
did
did
all the
see
work. She
I
did
did
all the work. It had
I
nothing to
saw
do.
I saw that you posted on X, and
Kind of couldn't not.
mm, a very attractive young woman she is, and a
That
credit to
is.
yourself. Yeah, I mean, absolutely. Yeah. So also you got to think how long it took them to build the Death Star as well. I always put that in, from the start to the finish is something
Well,
like
that
is it
puts
10
this
years?
15 years. Then this is sitting right squarely in Andor time.
Yeah, yeah.
Season
Oh,
1. Yeah,
season. Oh,
where
do you think
we
we might have her in season 2? Turn
yeah,
up.
right where we see season 1 end with
Yeah.
the after credits was where did all those parts from Narkina end up? We see what it is.
Mm, mm.
I
Awesome.
personally think we have much more likelihood of seeing her in the skeleton crew than anything else, personally.
That ain't the first time I've heard that.
You know,
Oh, yeah. Imagine that.
That's what I would put down is, where it more likely, so she'd be even older. Because I think she has the chance personally to be a more scoundrel type of character.
Mm.
Many years has passed, but a good scoundrel. That's where I would place her.
Oh,
And if
man.
that's live action or
Can you imagine it if they'd that Star Wars game Outlaws, if it was her, if they did it as her? I mean, it was like a bait and switch, and now the Bad Batch is finished. When the game is actually not this character, it's actually Amiga. Oh, wouldn't that be good? Then I'd be like, oh yeah, I'm on board straight away.
Well, we can do the math here real quick. If she's 30 years old and this is 5 years before Yavin, then she would be 35 at Yavin. The entirety of the original trilogy is 4 years. Takes us up to Return of the Jedi, and then starting into the Mando season. And Mando is 5 years that starts after Return of the Jedi. So that would put her at mid to late 40s.
Because she's younger than Boba, isn't she?
She's the same age.
Same age.
Her, Boba, Emery, they're all the same age.
Yeah.
No, Emery's older than Amigo.
Oh, no, you're right. That's right.
Yeah.
That's I stand corrected.
That's right. So yeah, and did everyone notice Gonki survived the blast?
He
and
did.
He was on board. Yeah,
He's on
Gonki
her
was there.
new ship.
Yeah.
And some folks have taken notice that could that possibly be parts of the wreckage of what was left of the Havoc Marauder? There's some wing similarities. The way the wings kind of rotate down.
Yeah.
Ended position.
Yeah, very much. Yeah. Oh, I missed that ship.
Furious.
Yeah. Was any? Sorry, Chris. Go on.
Do you miss that ship?
I do.
Well, it
was a
I
good
wonder
ship.
what's the next ship to blow up. I know the Acolyte's got a few ships.
Yeah, that's
and
true.
the skeleton crew as well.
Now, did any of you was hoping that you would see Crosshairs and Wrecker in this final scene as well? Did any of you think they should have been in it, or were you quite happy the way it finished?
No, because Hunter, even old, still has very good senses.
Yeah.
And obviously, I think he does say about Hunter and Crosshair, like, no, Amiga says like you need to look after them.
I think they very likely slept in. They earned their time off. And yeah, Hunter, just like Chris said, with his senses, he knew what she was up to, and he was that one step ahead of her. Maybe rightfully so.
Badger was one step ahead of her as well.
Yeah,
oh yeah,
he was already there.
She was right there with Hunter. Yeah, it started with Hunter being the first father figure to her, and rightfully so. The storytellers should wrap it up with the father figure she started out with, should end this story as she goes off into a new adventure, and where's there more more Omega stories somewhere out in the galaxy, and hope
Yeah.
there's more to come.
And I liked that Hunter turned off the lights. Shuts it down, and you got that fantastic shot of Pablo again, and the ship just going off and flying off. And then, of course, that was the ending of the Bad Batch. Absolutely fantastic. Guys, let me know what you out of it all, and then your final thoughts about it.
Sitting right here in this very seat watching it, the first run, yeah, there was definitely some tears. We got 3 seasons, more or less put it all together was 3 years. Well, if you count when we saw introduced to the Bad Batch in Clone Wars season 7, yeah, every story has 2 things. It's got a start and it's got an end, and had an absolute blast with all 3 seasons of this, for me, in my opinion.
I did as well. There was never, I think a couple of times me and Chris were talking, and we said it did have some bottleneck episodes or some lows and some highs, but I was always entertained. Always entertained. I couldn't wait to see in the next one. And I was, this week waiting to come in and see it so we can talk about it. And I'm glad that we managed to get to the end of it and talk about it. And we talked about the journey of each one of them took was fantastic. Yeah, I mean, well written Star Wars, really well written Star Wars, and it at one point perhaps Disney did not think that there was much interest in the Clone Wars and that style, but luckily for us, they found out, yeah, there's legs in this, and we've got these extra stories which we can now replay over and over and over again.
He just took the thoughts right out of my they're all there to watch over
again, and relive them.
Yeah,
absolutely loved it. And absolutely loved it. And never once did I think Omega was annoying. Never. She was a part of the team, and they used her wisely. Yeah, absolutely.
I would rate I my thoughts of like the Bad Batch as a whole is complicated. And the reason I would say complicated is because I enjoyed the main characters, I enjoyed their arcs, I enjoyed the arcs of the clone troopers as well. You can't judge it for what is not there. For example, Rex, Echo, their stories have not been told and have been left open. And I do think we will see more of that. But it's very different to the Clone Wars, where like the Clone Wars, I felt had the very dark episodes, but then Clone Wars had the very dark episodes, the very realistic episodes, and the very stupid episodes. And they were all entertaining. Bad Batch, I would say that, I totally agree with Holly how in the middle of season 3 it gets not stale, but you feel a bit slowed down. And I think it was the same thing with season 2. When season 2 was approaching the finale episodes, I remember feeling that stall of like pace building. But I think overall, it's hard to know what it was missing. It felt something was missing to me to be perfect, but perfect never exists. But I think, the character arcs of Omega, the Bad Batch, were really good. I think the character arcs of Rex, and some of the other clones, great. There was a lot of things that were just forgot about, like Cody, Wolf. How does Wolf get to Rex?
Yeah.
That is a question that has not been answered, and we kind of expected the cavalry to be Rex, and circle everyone together in a nice bow, but it wasn't. The Bad Batch, and I like that. I think personally, wrapping it up in a circle, I think this TV show excelled more when the Bad Batch were the Bad Batch without all the other clones, because when I watch the episodes with, say, Rex in, I really enjoy them, but then I feel like I want more Clone War type of episodes when the Bad Batch is very different. It's more like a family dynamic.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
And that's why I think it really did well. The Bad Batch as a family dynamic worked really well, but as they started adding the more and more clones in, like the CX, losing of Tech, it felt like it was more crossing into this. No, this is actually a TV show about the clones. What happens to the clones? And by the end of it, we still don't know what happens to the clones. We know some of them are on Pabu, but what about all the ones where Rex is? Where's Rex? Is he okay?
Spin-off. Spin-off. That's what I'm hearing.
That's what I would argue we're likely to see. If we're going to see more of the clones, I think we're more likely to see Rex again before Omega.
Yes.
There are whispers, and I can't pinpoint exactly where they're coming. They're not rumors, and only one or two of the small handful of spoiler sources that I like to follow and pay attention to. Can't pinpoint who this is. It's not coming from Lucasfilm Animation. I don't know where it is, but there are whispers that something could be in the works from Lucasfilm Animation. There's nothing on what.
Of course, there is something in the works.
I 100%. I think we have not heard the last of this animation in this style, apart from the Empire Tales. I mean,
in relation to clones. So
it's kind of like the fall of Rome is kind of like referred to like what happened to the clones. It's like, what do we want to know? What happened to every single one of them? But it's not necessarily that. It's like maybe it's room for a 3-episode arc of Tale of whatever, the clones or whatever, where it wraps up what happens to Rex, what happens to Echo, what happens to Cody. And I think, back into my comment a minute ago, this TV show did really well when the Batch saved themselves.
Yeah.
And when the other clones came in, it felt it was stealing the spotlight from the Bad Batch.
Yeah.
And makes me want another TV show dedicated to the clones. But then I feel it's getting very hard to justify how you could make that a big budget thing, because they're dwindling in their numbers as well.
Yeah, that's very true. Yeah. I was just reading this on Wikipedia. It says, according to Amiga's voice actress, Michelle Lang, Amiga originally had a very different ending that would have seen the character set on a path that could have made her a major player in the Star Wars canon. Instead, however, the writers changed the ending to one she describes as bittersweet. However, she expressed in a podcast interview her hope that Amiga's ending would still have a great impact on the future of Star Wars storytelling. While many of the Star Wars Bad Batch episodes were recorded remotely, the cast came together to record the final in person. There we go. There's a nice bit of trivia there. Yeah, interesting.
Sorry, I got 2 more things I wanted to talk about.
Go ahead, yeah.
Is when did Clone Force 99 end?
Okay, that's opinion. Jamie, what do you think?
Clone Force 99 ended the moment they when they became, instead of a fighting force, they became a fighting family. They were more than themselves. They were more wanting to help other people, not just be the go do this, go do that. They started to become their own individuals and become themselves. And then eventually, you know, with it was Amiga was the key to that lock. Absolutely. If it wasn't for her coming on board, they would still be serving the Empire, maybe a little bit, but would they be doing it? They probably would have eventually gone, but it would have took a longer time. But Omega made them what they are. Then they are not who, you know, without her, they're nothing. And together, they're a whole, if you know what I mean. So
Yeah,
I would say that.
Jamie just said a fighting family. That was rescuing their brothers from Tantus.
See,
Yeah.
I don't necessarily agree with that. I personally feel the Clone Force 99 died with Tech,
Mm.
you know, and they became more of a family after that, you know, because I think if you didn't lose Tech, Crosshair's redemption would have been harder to justify.
Yeah.
I can't
Because
disagree with that. That's kind of looking through Crosshair's eyes, what he said, trying to convince Hunter and Rucker when he said that
Yeah.
Force 99 died with Tech. Yeah, I kind of can't. Now hearing that, yeah, I can't disagree with that because I was ready to say my opinion. Clone Force 99 ended on that the high spot on Pabu under that weeping tree. But now listening to Chris, I'm more inclined to agree with him.
because I think if Tech was there and they hadn't felt any loss, they wouldn't have let Crosshair back in. They couldn't have forgave Crosshair.
Tech
You
was
know?
there in a way, but he went off on an adventure with his sister. He was on the dashboard with her.
It was.
She left.
Yeah, absolutely. It was never forgotten. He was always there, always. And when she placed his visor in that memorial place, but they said it's not for it to stay there. It's
No.
just to stay there until you come back to reclaim it when you're ready. So yeah. I agree with you, Chris, as well. Absolutely.
And
Yeah.
the second thing I wanted to quickly discuss was our favorite things of Star Wars was Jedis. You know, this TV show had very little in, but they had two that very much were left open. Was Gunji and Ventress.
Yep.
Yes.
Were we happy that they were left open?
Yeah. Ventress, yes. Because I was always expecting her coming up. I think we discussed this last time, what didn't we? We were thinking, what did happen to her from the end of the Clone Wars to here? Because there was, I could have sworn I seen something where she was in like in hibernation. She was in like in a coffin and something. And of course, you know, you two, being on the council, put me right about that. So yeah, I'm glad because not every story needs to be told. All right, they just need to be people coming. It's like our natural life, isn't it? As we go along, people come in and people go out. You know what I mean? And then later on they come back and then you go, oh, what happened to you? What happened? You know, and they tell you, you go, wow. But you don't go off following them, do you? It was like that. So yeah, we didn't need an explanation.
No.
And in today's filming, when you look at films that were made and then they remake them, in the original, there's aspects of that film that we didn't need it pointing out and explaining. But in the remake, they pointed out and they would like to explain it to you what happened.
Yeah.
I like that that aspect of they come in, they go out. They've got their separate lives. They're doing stuff, which makes interesting, maybe future tidbits later on, books, maybe, or another TV show, you know. And you could tell that she had an arc herself. We didn't witness it, we didn't see it, but she had gone through something, and which changed her mind. Yeah, it was good. I liked it.
I
And
love it when my friends keep me on my toes, because when Christopher said two characters in relation to Jedi, and I immediately went to Ventress, and then I stepped back a second right before he said it, and I'm like, who's the other one?
Yeah, I did as well.
And right before he said Gunji, I thought, is it Gunji? And then Christopher said Gunji. I love when my friends keep me thinking on my toes.
Yeah.
yeah, and to be fair, it's an open thread that can easily be interweaved together.
Absolutely.
Of an older Amiga and a Sarge, and that opportunity there.
Yep.
Will we see an Avengers style Jedi film? And put your bets on now. Line up all the Jedis.
Well, I think I mentioned it on here before. Right before season 3 had started, the voice actress for Asajj Ventress had done a podcast interview for about an hour and a half with the Rule of the Galaxy crew. And she had mentioned that this seeing Ventress in just this one episode of the Bad Batch was an appetizer. So there are other stories somewhere, likely already off the whiteboard inside Lucasfilm somewhere, that involves her, that are coming. We don't know what that is or when yet.
I like it.
Asajj coming. It's comics or books, we don't know, but there's something they're working on.
Based off this conversation, I could quite see them now, making a TV show based after Rebels. Something like, I don't know, Star Wars
time frame, because the time frame in between Rebels and A New Hope
gets really packed.
1 year.
It gets really packed with events.
Yeah. And at the moment, Disney know that's the sweet spot. This era is the sweet spot.
Yeah, but you just start adding new characters and old characters that are thought to be dead doing their own things for the rebellion.
Yeah. Didn't that guy get cut in half? Didn't that guy get swallowed by a Sarlacc? Go back.
Well, they could quite easily. They could quite easily, pull it in with Hera. Maybe a bit of Kanan, maybe a bit of Miga, maybe a bit of Rex.
And here's a question for you: I can't remember, but is Amiga force sensitive? Do you think she could? No, she can just hold the metachlorians, but she's not force sensitive. Yeah, okay.
That's my opinion.
Because when you said about Ventra, and I was thinking, I wonder if she could...
I have a different opinion to Royal
That's
Farm.
why I made sure to say it was my opinion. It's like Christopher.
Because my opinion follows the sequel trilogy of Finn. If someone wanted to try hard enough, I think they could do it. And we see that with Sabine. So whilst they're not at this point,
that always annoyed me. It annoyed me, to be fair. The thing with Finn and the thing with especially Sabine, never once, there was an awesome, she could be a Jedi. Yeah, she can.
Well, keep in mind, Jamie, that came from a discussion between Lawrence Kasdan and George Lucas as far back as the script writing for The Empire Strikes Back. There was a conversation between them two. It came up earlier this year.
I think you're right.
It came up in an article. Yeah, where Larry was kind of arguing with him, and George was like, no. Everybody has that kind of ability to attach to the Force. It's all a matter of how you're taught.
Yeah, and how in tune you are by default.
Most won't ever get that, but there are some with the proper kind of teaching, or folks would say, this is a highly overused word, in my opinion, is training. Yeah, it's how you're taught.
Absolutely.
Sabine did have that teaching, but it wasn't connecting with her no matter how many times Ahsoka tried to get it into her head. It was Sabine realizing she was getting in her own way. All she had to do was get out of her own way.
Yeah,
and boom, there it was. So yeah,
Absolutely.
Christopher does make a very convincing
Do you know,
discussion.
that's what I like about having this discussion with you guys.
It's
Is
an
that
argument.
I
Well,
was thinking but
you
then
know
when
why?
your idea, and I think, oh yeah, kind of,
Because
yeah.
you're an original trilogy people who say a Jedi is a Jedi, and I I do follow the sequels and the prequels more than the original trilogy, and say, well, Disney wants anyone to be able to, and I think it's better. It's better than that anyone can be able to
Mm,
because it makes it more accessible. And what I mean by more accessible, it's saying if you really believed, you really practiced, you could do it. You could pull, like not in our world is true, but like you could do it, and to believe that in the Star Wars universe would be pretty cool. And be
mm,
like, I'm gonna do it, and
Yeah,
then
that
to
does
do
go
it,
hand in hand with being taught. You can be taught so many things, but it's not going to stick, just like Chris
and
said.
and
Don't
mm. Yeah, yeah.
lightsabers. Anyone can hold a lightsaber. It doesn't mean you can use it,
That's
know.
right. That's right.
You
And
have
to
to
be
be taught.
fair,
You have to
if
believe.
you
Yeah, he's right.
yeah, if you was a good with a sword, technically wouldn't you be as you'd be quite good with a lightsaber?
But the problem with lightsabers is finding the crystals. And
Mm.
that you need to be in tune with the Force for.
And lightsabers ain't as deadly as they used to be now, are they? You can
Yes.
sort of walk. You can sort of walk it off now, can't you? Not as deadly.
Well,
Yeah.
it depends.
Not as
But
deadly.
I think overall, back to the thread that I was saying about,
Mm.
I thought it's really refreshing to have the lack of Jedis in this TV show. And not every conversation was fixed with, Anakin being very overly aggressive with a lightsaber and saving the day. Because that's a lot of the Clone Wars arcs, you
Mm.
know?
Yeah,
And
yeah. It was good. It was good not to have any Jedi interaction, you could say.
I'm going to ask Jamie to keep that walking the lightsaber wound off in your back pocket for you're going into the Acolyte next. It's not directly in relation to lightsabers, but just that general thought that you said.
Okay.
it's
Into
the
the
saber
Acolyte,
whip.
that thought, because whenever the point comes, you'll know what I'm talking about. And then
Okay.
when we meet back up here next time to talk about it when you get to see it. Because
Well, we
Okay.
still got the Tales of the Emperor to review. I've still not even
Yeah.
watched that.
I've watched that. I'd give it a miss me. Half of it was good, half it weren't.
Hey,
Yeah.
it depends. It
Yeah.
depends on
But
how
yeah,
you
I'll hear
do it.
your opinions about it. But I was like, it is not as good as the first season. I can tell you that now. It's
But
not
the
as good
first
as the first season.
season had two very well-known characters in.
Mm.
They took a gamble with two less known characters and, told a story.
Mm.
I've not seen them stories yet,
Mm.
but it's like, of course, it sounds bad, but of course, Ahsoka would have the first three.
Yes.
But then the better three, personally, were obviously
Count Dooku.
the Count Dooku arc.
Yeah, absolutely. I loved it.
You know,
Thought his stories were brilliant. That's why I couldn't wait to get into Tales of the Empire. And then I watched it, and then I quickly thought, okay, right, yeah.
well, I always like to try to keep this in mind. And I posted this on a short post on my workday earlier this week that good is sometimes an opinion. Bad is sometimes an opinion. Sometimes we can agree on one or the other or both.
Mm.
Neither one's right, neither one's wrong.
Or from a certain point of view.
Yeah. Just like
Yeah.
Jamie had said, for him, Tales of the Empire was half good. I thought it was all good. They're neither right nor wrong, but there they are.
Well, it also depends on the arcs you attach to.
Yeah.
Do you feel revenge more than family? People may feel the family tropes better than the revenge tropes, or the finding themselves, and like, I'm sure we'll get to that. I'm gonna give it a watch sooner or later.
Yeah,
We've got Bad Batch finished. Holly's finished that now. She finished it today. We have the Acolyte to watch. We
Yes.
obviously have Tales of the Empire to watch. just been so busy in life. But also, it's kind of nice to see the world go by with their own thoughts and then make your own opinions later.
Yeah, yeah,
you know?
yeah. I've enjoyed it.
Um,
I've just enjoyed it. Yeah.
I guess my very final question, and I want to hear from each of you, is who is your favorite Bad Batcher at the end? I'll go first.
Crosshairs. Oh, go on.
Oh, you went Crosshair?
Crosshair. At the start of it, Wrecker, nearly all the way, but this last season, Crosshair. I liked his arc, and I could feel for the guy that he did more punishing himself than because I remember I did something wrong at work many years ago by accident. I crashed a vehicle it was my own stupid fault, but I did crash it, and luckily enough no one was hurt or anything like that. I just hit a low bridge with a high vehicle, right? And I went to the manager and I told him, there's nothing you can say to make me feel any worse than I feel right now. So if you want me to go, I'll go. You know what I mean? And he listened, he sat back and he said, all right, Jamie. Yeah. And he didn't kick me when I was down. He sort of semi-picked me up and he kept me employed, and I'm still employed with him. It's this day, you know what I mean? 10 years later, I'm still employed, and I'll always be thankful that he didn't have a gut reaction to just get rid of him, which he could have done. 100% he could have done, but I'm still with the company, and the company think I'm a good asset to the company now. So, you know what I mean? I know what it feels like to give yourself a kicking when you think everything's so with Crosshairs, after all the things he thought was right. Can you imagine thinking that you was on the right side for so long that you would do the things you did to suddenly think, oh, hold on, I'm the bad guy. You know what I mean? It could be, it's the way, and then thinking, how can I get myself out of this crap that I'm in? So he would constantly give himself a kicking. He didn't need his brothers to say, to not trust him or anything like that, because he didn't trust himself. He was just down. And if it wasn't for Amiga finding that behind this exterior that he always put across, there's a guy with a heart, and you knew he had a heart because, he would do anything at the end of the day for Amiga. He would sacrifice his own life because she, would do the same for him. And just when they gave him that, he took that shot. He wasn't going to let Hunter go on his own. And when they're out on that platform, and he trusted Hunter enough to, when Hunter went, take the shot, you'll know when. Amiga's got, and he took it and he got it. And then Amiga hugged him. I was in tears. Yeah. I think Crosshairs 100%. Does that make sense? Yeah.
Absolutely. There was just 12-year-old, 50-plus-year-old Jamie taking the lesson that George has always said, that Star Wars is meant to teach lessons to kids growing up in their tweens. Take from these stories about what you're going to start on your adventures in your life. Take from these stories lessons, and boom, there was one right there. That 12-year-old, 53-plus-year-old Jamie just had a lesson. There it was.
Yeah.
Oh, that got deep. That got real deep, and I love it.
Okay.
Royal
Fanboy.
Yeah,
yours.
Favorite character. I'm not a big fan of favoring much anything Star Wars over anything else Star Wars, but if there's a spotlight and it finds its way to me through the Bad Batch, I'm going to say Hunter. He's the sergeant of the squad. Even when they were a man permanently down, he still, his guidance, Crosshair. Yeah. Wait for her. She knows just what Jamie said. She knows what to do and when to do it. Hunter's the sergeant. He's seen them through from start to finish, even when they lost a brother. Hunter
Yeah,
went
yeah,
on.
yeah.
See,
Very true. Very true.
I think my favorite Bad Batch show is Amigo.
I was arguing, and I thought,
You know,
no, let her
because
go.
everything you both said wouldn't have happened without Amigo.
Yeah.
No,
You
the
know,
whole story wouldn't have happened without her.
Amiga gave them the reason to obviously do everything. And I think the main reason I say Amiga more than anything else was because everything you guys said is true about the other batches, the bad batches, yeah. I think the one thing that puts Amiga above anything else for me is all life is equal and deserves to live and thrive, you know,
Yeah.
and not be forgotten about, you know.
Mm.
Crosshair was scared to go back to Tantus, but Amiga knew she had to get the rest of her, you know, her brothers out. And
Yep.
then even further, when there's children there, you know, it's all prevalent to her. And that's what I would say would be that tops, you know, because I was thinking, you know, maybe Crosshair because of his arc.
Yeah.
But really what topped it out for me was Amiga not letting anyone go and be left is the thing that tops it out for me. Like Batcher, you know, she didn't save Batcher. They wouldn't have probably got out of a situation, you know, if she didn't, you know, meet the batch at that point, you know, they probably never would have escaped to Poker City in the original season, you know.
Mhm.
And with their, you know, inhibitor chips and the knowledge that she knew in, you know, even all the way back in season 1, when she first met the Bad Batch, she knew every single one of their names, but they didn't know
Yes.
her, you know? And yeah, for me, it's a cop out by saying she's not the original part of Clone Force 99, but my favorite Batcher is Amiga because she wouldn't leave anyone behind. And that's the, you know, when I think about the true spirit of the clones, you know, it's that they're all brothers, you know.
Brotherhood. Yeah, the brotherhood.
And
Yep.
Yeah.
that's where, you know, I would top it personally is
Yeah.
Amiga being the best. But they're all, you know, they're all good in their own ways. And I'm excited for the future based upon this. Like I said, the Bad Batch personally did better when it was more the family, you know, getting themselves out of situations than the whole clones, you know, getting involved. Even though I love Rex and Echo, like it's a very different path, you know, from that point, you know.
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
I think, you know, the closing of it all out is talking, you know, he's so
Single-minded.
insignificant,
Yeah.
but so much of a pivotal point in the
Yeah.
continuous empire. Like one person could shoot that guy, and it would be like world's better. But somehow that one guy goes from, you know, a clone commander in the Republic to literally being the second in line, and
Yeah.
it's just literally how he said about, like, you know, you see this Wayland, you see all the emperors, science, you know, but nothing beats pure stamping on your enemies
Yeah.
of the Death Star, you know.
That's true. The boot on the neck, as it's
Yeah,
said.
you know.
And the other thing as well, Chris, is that through the whole time we've been talking about the Clone Wars, I personally have never made the connection that Batcher is Batch, the Bad Batcher. Until you were talking about it, I was like, oh yeah, she named the dog after them. So you could say that he was one of the member of Clone Force 99.
He was one of them. Yeah,
Yeah, she was on
you
there.
know.
Right. So I'm gonna have to say that brings us to the end of this episode, right? So then, guys, I personally want to say a big thank you to Royal Farmboy for coming on. This has been an immense podcast. It's been nearly 3.5 hours of pure Star Wars delight for me. I love these long forms when they go and we're all involved in it, and it's gone so smoothly. You know what I mean? I couldn't have wished for a better podcast. So I truly say thank you for Royal Farmboy for coming on
Thank
for
you
the
for
show.
asking.
Yeah, you've certainly made a difference. And Chris, as always, fantastic bit of knowledge. Considering I'm the Star Wars guy, my son has some pivotal points that I never thought of.
Well,
Right?
I would like to play my Star Wars trivia game between you and me and Royal Farmboy.
I think so. You know,
When I played that, sorry, Dad, the only questions you had over me were all the questions about the original trilogy.
we played that, and you were shouting them out. You didn't even give me a chance. You were like, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, oh,
yeah, like
come
I
on.
could play in hard mode, just not even saying any of the answers. You know,
All
pick
right.
4, pick 2.
Yeah,
I'm like,
next
I
time.
got it.
We'll have
I
to
would
do.
always be up for some Star Wars trivia.
I tell you what, we'll have a Christmas episode, and we'll do some trivial
Ooh.
games. We'll find some, and we'll try and involve as many viewers or listeners as much as possible. You know, we'll give plenty of time to say when we're coming on. So that's definitely a go. I would like that. I would really enjoy that, and hopefully at some point, what I really would like Royal Fobby, you've not been to Galaxy's Edge. I've not been to Galaxy's Edge. Maybe in some weird, strange universe, we'd be able to organize a meetup and enjoy Star Wars together somewhere that we all want to go to.
Here's the wishful thinking.
Yes.
My prediction for that would be the Star Wars celebrations after Japan will more likely be in America.
Yes, of course it will be. Yeah.
That's the thinking.
Yeah.
Yes. That'd be a good one to go. So anyway, let's do the bit. Do you know my mouse is playing up? I think it needs a battery. All right, so thank you for joining us on Radio Free Endor. We hope you've enjoyed immersing yourself in the galaxy far, far away with us. Stay connected with us on social media and be part of our vibrant community. Search for @Radio Free Endor on Facebook, Twitter, and on Instagram, and YouTube. And if you're watching on YouTube, please hit that like button, subscribe, turn on notifications to stay up to date with all our latest episodes, discussions, and exciting news. And I would like to say that even though sometimes we come on literally 5 minutes, you know, there's no preempt that we're coming on. Royal Farmboy, you're there. You're always there, Gareth. You know what I mean? Which I think is fantastic. I love it. I just love it.
Me and Dad have been planning this for the last few days. It's like we're gonna do it tonight, 9:30. Something that came up yesterday.
Yeah.
You know, it was meant to be yesterday at 9:30, and Dad said too tired. Then I said 1:30. You know, today as in midday. You know, we're both around, and then it's like no, things come up. Obviously, you know, I really respect everybody that can put so much time into Star Wars. And you know, I like to hope I'm not any less of a fan for not being able to watch some things always on time. But it's also sometimes I can always watch it on time, but actually getting the time to reflect on it on the podcast is sometimes harder as well.
Yeah, it is. You know, I agree with you, Chris. Now, if people, I always say this, if people want to see reviews and comment straight after these episodes that aired, there's plenty of a choice out there for you to go to, right? Us boys in Britain, we're a little bit slow. We'll have to take our time with stuff. Don't worry, we get there in the end. And I think it's worked out better because we've had time to sit on these episodes and reveal them and talk about them. I think if we had done this episode literally straight after it, it would have been a very much shorter episode. But because we've had time, we've digested it, we've got the information, and we've enjoyed ourselves. Do you agree, Raw Farm Boy?
Absolutely, I would agree. And as proof that RFE ain't the only ones to be just finishing up TBB right now, as a deep and wide, I'm very well schooled over years of monitoring Star Wars podcast transmissions, which is why I know with no pre-announcements when RFE goes live. I'm very well schooled in monitoring most all Star Wars podcast transmissions. I know I got a pretty good handle on what's going on with who, where, and when at pretty much any given time. There's one other podcast that just finished up their season 3 wrap up. Three fellows up in Canada, up north of me. So yeah, RFE not the only one that just finished in Bad Batch. So
cool.
Rest assured that you're not alone.
And it was the Galaxy and Fate, because we ended up doing it later because I was busy earlier, and you managed to come on.
Don't you worry. Our slate's currently looking at the Acolyte, then Tales of the Empire, and then I think we might get round to Andor season 1.
Yeah, and the end of season 2 of the Bad Batch, may I say? Yeah, because the
That's
last
right.
episode,
We have not touched Andor yet in any way, shape, or form.
And to be fair, I'd like to sit through that again. I think it deserves a rewatch, because halfway through I was thinking, what is happening right now? My mind's saying I'm enjoying it, but I'm just not sure what's happening right now. But it is
After the Acolyte, the only other thing is August is when Star Wars Outlaws comes out. So between early July is when the Acolyte ends, and the next story is going to be somewhere around the holidays, which is going to be Skeleton Crew. There's a fair chunk of open time available.
I can't wait. I can't wait for the press junket for the Skeleton Crew comes out, because all those kids are going to be like 20 years older by the
I'd
time
say
that
maybe
program.
be expecting that maybe late September, early October ish.
Remember,
keep an eye on Bespin Bulletin's transmissions, because he'll let you know when there's something afoot.
We do have Star Wars Celebration in August.
Yes, we do. Yeah.
So I do expect then we will get an announcement for a new animated TV show, announcement on the date of Andor 2 and the date of Skeleton Crew. Maybe a movie update, I guess. But
we'll see.
Yeah.
The two reasons I mention Bespin Bulletin is, one, he's very good at what he does. There's only one other fellow that's as good as him at what he does in digging up behind the scenes, what's coming info, spoilery stuff. He doesn't do leaks. He does spoilers. A leak is what somebody does when they got to go out in the field, if you know what I mean.
Yes.
And secondly, the reason I bring him up is because he's over there in the UK with Jens. He's right there. Bespin is in Wales.
I'll have to get him on. We'll have to do a crossover podcast. What do you reckon, Chris?
And he's over in the UK.
Yeah.
And when he gets stuff, it's 80 to 90% on the nose.
Pretty cool. Just as a side note, I noticed they showed photos of them filming 28 years later, actually up north near me. Sequel. All right. Anyway, let's get back onto this. If you want to dive deeper into Star Wars with us, please send your thoughts, comments, and questions to radiofreeendor@gmail.com. Don't forget to follow me at Jamie_R_Burns on X, and Chris.
Burn Chris.
We'd love to hear from you and have a galactic chat. Raw Farmboy, you're always on Twitter yourself. So if anybody wants to get over there, they can just head over to Raw Farmboy.
I'm easily found in the Star Wars Twitterverse. I don't Facebook, and I have an Instagram that I haven't visited in months. Yeah, I'm still bopping around, putting up Imperial posted things in the Twitterverse and whatever else, what other kind of shenanigans I can dig up when I'm not while I'm monitoring podcast transmissions.
Sweet. Cool. And if you're not sure, well, just look at my page, Radio Free Endor. You'll often see Raw Farm Boy has made a comment, so click on him. You can find him. For all your super fans out there, head over to TeePublic and get your hands on official Radio Free Endor merchandise, whether it's a t-shirt, hoodie, mask, stickers, mugs, key rings, or mouse mats. We've got you covered. Show off your love for the show and look ultra cool while doing so. Remember, iTunes is the go-to place to download our show, but you can also hear it on Spotify now. So make sure you leave us a 5-star review. Your support means the galaxy to us and helps us reach more listeners who are hungry for more Star Wars content. Once again, thank you for tuning in to Radio Free Endor. May the Force be with you, and we look forward to bringing you more thrilling adventures from us three and from a galaxy far, far away. Thank you very much. Oh, and thank you to all our viewers that have been listening. And they've been going slowly up as we've been talking. They've not dropped off. They've been slowly going up. So thank you. Keep listening because we are going to cover the Acolyte next. I think sometime in the week. So, right. So, guys, thank you very much. And we'll see you all very much later. Night.